Good evening, everybody. Happy Thursday. As we continue to highlight amazing women throughout history as we celebrate Women's History Month, tonight is Rosa Parks. There's more to the story of just what she's known for. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, my brother, and how are you?
I am very well, thank you. I wanted
Awesome sauce.
to highlight Rosa Parks this evening. She's called the mother of the civil rights movement. Rosa Parks invigorated the struggle for racial equality when she refused to give up her bus seat to a white man in Montgomery, Alabama. Parks's arrest on December 1st, 1955, launched the Montgomery bus boycott by 17,000 black citizens. A Supreme Court ruling and declining revenues forced the city to desegregate its buses 13 months later. Parks became an instant icon, but her resistance was a natural extension of a lifelong commitment to activism. Over the years, she had repeatedly disobeyed bus segregation regulations. Once, she even had been put off a bus for her defiance. Rosa Louise McCauley spent the first years of her life on a small farm with her mother, grandparents, and brother. She witnessed night rides by the KKK and listened in fear as lynchings occurred near her home. The family moved to Montgomery. Rosa went to school and became a seamstress. She married Barbara Raymond Parks in 1932, and the couple joined the Montgomery NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, when she inspired the bus boycott. Parks had been the secretaries of the local NAACP for 12 years, from 1943 to 1956. Parks founded the Montgomery NAACP Youth Council in early 1940. Later, as secretary of the Alabama State Conference at the NAACP, she traveled throughout the state, interviewing victims of discrimination and witnessing and being a witness to lynchings. In the wake of the Montgomery bus boycott, Parks lost her tailoring job and received death threats. She and her family moved to Detroit, Michigan in 1957. However, she remained an active member of the NAACP and worked for Congressman John Conyers from 1965 to 1988, helping the houseless find housing. The Rosa and Raymond Parks Institute of Self-Development was established in 1987 to offer job training for black youth. In 1999, Parks received the Congressional Gold Medal of Honor, the highest honor a civilian can receive in the United States. The Southern Christian Leadership Conference, or SCLC, also sponsors an annual Rosa Parks Freedom Award. Quite a lady, no doubt about it. I did not know of her amazing post Montgomery bus ride career, but an incredible.
Yeah,
How are you tonight, my friend?
I'm doing well, and I would argue that the um, single act of defiance that seems to define her in history books is the least of her accomplishments.
Exactly. That's exactly right. It's like this the moment she's known for the moment, but not the legacy.
Yeah, her legacy and what exists historically post her passing is so phenomenal, and one might even say that she died with honor and integrity.
Indeed. Nice segue. We will get there. I promise you. Um,
Yeah,
Go ahead.
as we ramp people up in here, I say when we get a few hundred,
Hmm.
so maybe that usually takes 30, 40 minutes. So 3:30, I will do the first.
Got it.
What time is it now? Yeah, so in about 25 minutes or so, I'll do our first disclaimer
You
messaging.
got it. You got it. So we have these. We're going to cover a lot of topics tonight, but we have the State of the Union this evening at 9
Yep.
p.m. Eastern time. There will be. It will be interesting. I was thinking about this today. Another example of how the Republicans' strategy or lack thereof just is front and center because typically speaking, there's no congressional mandate as to when a State of the Union has to happen or if.
Yep.
It requires an invitation from Congress. It's in the Constitution, but there's no definitive. It's just literally the president, the executive, in so choosing, has to inform Congress of basically what's up. I think it's Article 2, Section 2, or somewhere around there. But 2 days after Super Tuesday, when Joe Biden's already the nominee for the Democratic Party and the presumptive nominee is Donald Trump, 2 days after Super Tuesday, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, gives Joe Biden the ultimate bully pulpit. Like literally, here's the biggest stage in the world to come and tell us about the State of the Union. So it's just again another swing and a miss. There's rumblings within the Republican caucus that he's asked his members to maintain some decorum. We'll see how that goes.
Well,
I
it's
don't
been
expect
reported
much, but
across, yeah, it was six different news agencies varying from right to left to center to not really political that I looked at, and they all shared the same story. So there's definitely something there.
right, right,
And I also think this could be two things. One, um, as a leader, he's trying to establish himself to have some kind of power.
right.
Uh, and he may also be letting this be a shot across the bow to the 13 disruptors within his party as kind of like a fuck you. And
Exactly.
you will behave because let's not forget the Speaker of the House has a lot of sway in his party, and he can help move people on and off committees.
He can indeed. And he's already
So,
got like a two-seat majority, as we know.
yep,
And
yep,
I quite frankly, I don't think the Freedom Caucus cares. I think they're going to do what they do. I think they've made that brutally obvious.
yeah,
I was looking into some historical significance of the State of the Union because that's just what I do because I'm a politics dork, as they say. It does not have to be a speech. In fact, in 1801, Thomas Jefferson sent written copies to both the House and the Senate, which I think is pretty neat. Here you go. Read it if you will. And
yeah,
they always talk about the designated survivor. I know it's a TV show with Kiefer Sutherland, I think. Um, no one knows, but it's
yeah.
usually almost always a cabinet member. Um, and it's almost always a cabinet member, and they don't announce it publicly until for obvious reasons. And where does that person go? So the idea
Right.
behind just the idea behind designated survivors because you have a joint session of Congress and you have the leadership of our government, president, vice president, speaker of the House, president of the Senate, president pro tem. So I think you have like 8 of the designated first people in line to succeed the presidency. So they pick somebody from the cabinet. So there you go. So you could be the Secretary of Agriculture
Yeah.
and find yourself in a
Right.
secret location, so to speak. So that's this evening. That's at 9 o'clock. I was thinking about covering that, but I know a lot of people are. So we'll probably end the live maybe a few minutes before 9 this evening, if possible, to give people a chance to watch it. Now, MAGA, we know you
Yeah.
won't watch because you'll wait for the edited sound bites that'll happen tomorrow. But I would encourage you to watch it because you'll find that Joe Biden handles a crowd very, very well. And I'll remind people again that he dog walked members of the Republican House and Senate last year during the State of the Union because they were saying he made comments about them wanting to cancel Social Security and they were crying and yelling from the cheap seats. And he's like, okay, fine, we'll see, no problem. Good, I'm going to put you on record that you're not going to do that. And of course, ever since then, they've been talking about it. Um,
Yep.
so yeah, there's that. So friends, if you guys please would like and share the live, we would really appreciate that. I think it's a really important that we get this conversation, these talking points out there this evening, because I think it's necessary that we have these good, robust conversations. I do want to do a couple of things real quick. Anthony and I are very, very grateful for the amount of people that we tend to attract to this community, and we couldn't do what we do without you, and that includes all of our friendlies. Sadly, we have a lot of people that request to join us over the course of our live, and I do my best to try to bring folks up when I can, but we just can't get to everybody, and I feel bad because I see some names in there that I recognize. So, what we what we're trying to do is create an environment that's not an echo chamber by design. A lot of you might see lives where there's 7 or 8 panelists and they tend to all be on one side. And I don't think that's productive for conversations. It's not that we don't learn things. It's just not really the environment that we kind of want to create. I think I hope many of you have seen this space as an opportunity to really hear dialogue. We go back and forth with a lot of folks for obvious reasons, and that's necessary. But long story short, we're going to reserve the first 2 hours for opposition if possible. We will bring up a subject matter expert if we have one available, if there's a topic that we don't know anything about, or if we'd like more information. And then we'll use the last hour for sort of an open panel for everyone.
Yeah.
We'll try that out. We'll see if it works. Again, this is my backup this evening, so we don't know what kind of traffic we'll get this evening. So again, please like and share, tap, 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 tap away, and share, 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 share away. And then throw all those weird things in the comments that will really trigger the algorithm, like border. Be sure to spell it wrong. Well, be sure to spell everything wrong. In particular, you can Hunter Biden's laptop, the Biden crime family, all those kinds of things that are the things that sort of trigger. Yeah, trader, right? TRADER. That's a good one. So we'd appreciate that. So that's kind of where we are. And I think we've talked about this before, about how elections are about contrast. The idea being, before I do that, I just want to say this for the record. Vermont, Nikki Haley won Vermont, the only primary state on the Republican side that said F you to Donald Trump. And I went to the rally, as you all know, on Sunday, so you can thank me for that. You're welcome. Anywho, elections are about contrast. And we have a moment in history where the contrast, at least to me and people who are paying attention, I know to Anthony as well, I think I can speak for him, that the contrast is obvious. As many challenges as there are within the Democratic Party, and there are, and I have been critical, it's clearly an easy choice if you believe in freedom, if you believe in honor, if you believe in integrity, if you believe in democracy, if you believe in human rights. Now, one thing that I noticed coming off of the primaries is that there was a good chunk of voters, relatively small percentage, but a big enough number of uncommitted. And I think that you can call it a protest vote, protest singer singing a protest song, whatever you want to call it. But I think it's relevant. I think it's important. And I think the Democratic Party is listening, because tonight during the State of the Union, there is talk about Joe Biden talking about military ports set up in Gaza to deliver humanitarian aid. So that's one of the biggest elements of the negativity in regards to Joe Biden and his reelection, is that people do not like the U.S.'s policy towards Israel. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. So when you take the feedback of the voters and you apply it, and it's going to be incremental, whatever that looks like, but you apply it, that means you're paying attention. Will it change the result? Will it change minds? I think it will. And at the further away we get from these, these seismic moments of angst, the closer we get to election, Democrats will come home. Democrats will understand what's at stake. Compare that to the other side. Compare that to the traitor above me. Compare that to someone who's told Vladimir Putin that I would encourage him to do whatever the hell he wants to NATO, who will lock up our veterans, our homeless veterans in internment camps and give them the choice for treatment or what else. Elections are a clear contrast. I know this topic is important to you, Anthony, so it might be a good time to kind of talk about some of our disclaimers, because as you guys know, I've had some issues with misinformation, and we try to platform positivity around here, but the algorithm catches us at times. So, Anthony.
Yeah. TikTok, it is our intention during these live broadcasts to only provide fact-based information to the absolute best of our ability. We strive to never spread misinformation or to platform those that do. The opinions of our guests or commentators are theirs and theirs alone, and do not reflect those of the hosts. Hate speech is not allowed, and we are diligent about policing it. This platform is for educational purposes only.
We're going to try that, friends. I was encouraged to kind of include those, and we'll try to be on top of that a little bit more. And you may hear that disclaimer a little bit more throughout the evening. So there's that. One more thing I wanted to report, some sad news, actually. Please join me in remembering yet another great icon of the entertainment community. The Pillsbury Doughboy passed away yesterday of a yeast infection and traumatic complications from repeated pokes to the belly. He was 71. Doughboy is survived by his wife, Play-Doh, 3 children, John Doe, Jane Doe, and Dildo. Plus, they had one in the oven. Services were held at 3:50 for about 20 minutes. I'm here all week. Try the veal. Couldn't resist when I
for
saw that.
dramatic effect.
So, there we are. There we are.
Damn it!
I
Now I
think,
want some croissants.
yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So, one more little bit of housekeeping. In the chat, if you guys could avoid using caps, we'd like to ask we ask that the mods be reserved for that so that they can communicate with each other and communicate with Anthony and I if necessary. As we said in our disclaimer, we're not going to tolerate hate speech. The the mods will, how can I put this, strongly encourage you not to continue with that level of anger. We do want this environment to be one for hotly contested debates if necessary, but there's no reason to be hateful, although some of you
Yeah,
do that anyway. But we'd like to offer that. I
yeah.
want to say thank you in advance to our mods. We have the best mods there are, and we'll keep a mind on that. So again, they will mute you if necessary. They'll give you probably one or two opportunities, and then it'll be time to go night night. So
Yeah.
what we're talking about this evening is that Donald Trump has no honor, no integrity. He's a traitor, and if you support him, then you are complicit in his hate, his dishonor, his lack of integrity, his bigotry, his racism, and you're a traitor too.
Yep.
Yep.
And for those that keep asking in the comments how much we get paid, I am super fortunate to own two of my own businesses, so I pay myself. No one else pays me. As a matter of fact, where I live, it's only 317. So from time to time, I hit mute and I continue making money. So while we appreciate the witty banter, um, I've never heard of anyone getting paid by anyone except for, oh, Democrats pay you. Hmm.
Mm,
Well, Anthony, if you say that one more time and you have enough guests, I'm going to pull you up in the box and then I'm going to dog walk you from one end of LA County to the other end of LA County. And then I'm going to give you the boot.
that's
So
right.
buckle up, Buttercup. It's coming.
That's right. Um, and just a reminder again, we were going to try this out. First couple of hours of our live, we're going to try to keep this for opposition only. Again, you're welcome to sit in the box if you have a particular area of expertise. If the topic comes up and you want to request, you're welcome. But what I'm going to try to do is navigate through people that we haven't spoken to before. So again, I know that this topic in particular is really important to you, Anthony, and it's important to all of us. It should be as a reminder. We don't. I don't think we're specific and talk specifically enough. We've tried to, but the danger that this traitor represents to the future of our democracy. And yes, it's a representative democracy. A constitutional republic is a form of democracy. Just saying. We can again, I want to encourage guests, so please like and share,
Yeah.
friends. Let's drive
Oh,
this out
and
of the
by
algorithm.
the way, Anthony's already been blocked and booted, folks.
Oh, no, that's how easy that was. So,
Yes, yes.
so I guess the question then becomes,
Yeah. Well,
at the end of
my
the day,
thumb, my thumb came out.
oh, it did. Of course, it did. So I think the question then becomes is, we ask, we know there's no bar. We know that there's no filth that this man can perpetrate that you would stop supporting him. But have you thought that through? Are you comfortable attaching yourself to someone who is a traitor, someone who has no honor, someone who has no integrity, someone who's complicit? Or if you support those things, then those beliefs in his actions, then you're complicit as well. And I would encourage you to really look within your soul. Um, any commentary on that, my friend? Yes? No?
Well, yeah. Maybe we could define some. Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Can you hear me?
I can.
I think there's a lag between you and me.
Okay,
I'm going to drop and I'm going to come back because there's a lag.
got it. Dropping. I see you, Chelsea. We'll get there in one sec. I'm going to bring Anthony back up.
Okay,
I'm gonna
hear me now.
I'm gonna break our own rule real quickly because I know Chelsea wants to promote a live that she's doing tomorrow night,
Yeah,
Vote
do
the
it.
Bomb. So I'm gonna bring her up
Bring
real
her up.
quick.
Yep.
Good
I was
evening,
just
Fred.
in the comments laughing. I was like, I'm opposition. Bring me in.
How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
Doing fine, thank you. You got a big event tomorrow night. Tell us
Yeah, we
about it.
do. I made a video. I'm kind of like under the weather today. So I was like, I'm not going to make a big video. But yes, I'm excited for tomorrow. I tagged you both in it.
Why don't you fill us in? What's going on?
Well, tomorrow we're going to have the Uvalde live with Brett. We're going to talk about his entire experience, losing his son in Uvalde. I pulled some of the clips from the hearing that not a lot of people got to hear. I'm gonna try to announce it's educational purposes only before I play it because it's not. Otherwise, we'll get the whole live taken down from how graphic it is. So it's gonna. I hope everybody comes to it. I hope everybody listens and gives Brett the respect that he deserves for everything he's been through. And I want people to remember that this could happen to you. Like, we live in that kind of country now where this could happen to any one of us as parents. And
Indeed.
that's the scariest part of it.
Indeed, and I think so. What Anthony and I were talking about, and we'll in our ability to support Chelsea in this live, we're not gonna go live tomorrow night. We're gonna join hers and try to promote traffic to that. So yeah, that's the plan. Thank you for doing this. Brett is a Uvalde dad, and as a parent, and any parent out there, I can't even imagine being in that position. But I'm looking forward to getting to know him, and thanks for hosting that, Chelsea. Really appreciate
No
it.
problem. You guys have a fun night.
It's 6:00 Eastern, 6
yeah.
Eastern, right? Okay.
Yeah, 6 Eastern. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, friend. Talk
So
to
I'll
you later.
see everybody. Bye.
Feel better. All right. Bye. All right. Well, we might as well jump in. I'm sure the conversations will come up over the course of the evening. So let's talk.
Yep.
A sandwich?
Good evening, Kennedy.
Sugar, I'm gonna give it to you. No,
Kennedy? Kennedy, are you there?
Hello?
Hi there. Are you a Trump supporter?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Any comments on our slide behind us?
Well, I just feel like, I mean, you guys say that you're the like, I don't know, the party of peace, and you say like you want peace and all of this and that, but then you guys bash Democrats, and then AZ Mike in your comments, I put Latinos for Trump because I'm a proud Latina from Southern California, and he called us cockroaches. So do you see why? Like,
well,
no,
Kennedy, the
go
question that I asked
go
you
ahead.
is I was asking you to respond to the sign behind me. So specifically,
Yeah, I don't
you're
think-
you're hold on. You're a Trump supporter.
Mhm.
Okay, and you've made a decision to vote for Donald Trump no matter what.
I've made a decision to vote for him because I just can't bring myself to going for anything Biden goes for, believing in anything Biden believes in.
Okay, so what? So fine, but you understand that by voting for Donald Trump, you're complicit with everything he's done, including essay of a woman, including, you name it, attempting to overthrow the government, wanting to lock up mass deportations like nothing our country's ever seen before, wanting to put houseless people in our country, people who have human rights, including veterans, in internment camps, and you're okay with that?
I've never heard Trump say that he was going to put homeless veterans in internment camps.
Would you like me to play the video for you?
I know. My family's like, what?
Yeah, it's real. It's real.
Yeah, I've never heard him say that. The part of him being a rapist is, you guys have said that he was with a 13-year-old at Epstein's Island. There's no proof
I never
of
said that.
That's,
I never made that claim. That's misinformation,
No,
TikTok.
Democrats
Misinformation.
Democrats have said that. If you're talking about E. Jean Carroll,
Yep.
then how is a 51-year-old, and see, now there's a guy, Mark J.N.
Why
I
don't you
can't even
focus
come
on the
up with-
conversation, Kennedy, and ignore the chat?
Yeah, okay. Well, it's really hard when you perpetuate hate on your page.
Well, Kennedy, with all due respect, you're the one that's perpetuating hate. You're the one that is aligned with Donald Trump because for some particular reason you feel that whatever Joe Biden has done, and you've yet to say anything, it's just the typical rhetoric that we hear. You align with a man
Okay,
who's not only,
so
excuse me, I'm talking. Not only
okay,
walk,
so
excuse me, I'm
Biden has been
talking.
in
Excuse
office
me,
how long?
excuse me, I'm
Biden
talking.
has been in office how
Excuse me, I'm
long?
talking. Again, self-control is important. You've already stated that you believe there's another excuse that we're hearing this time from women of Donald Trump's.
User.
He's a sexual abuser, and I'm sorry, but that's where that's your lot in life. So I have no interest in talking to you. You're trash. Thank you. Unbelievable. Women. That's the start of the evening. I'm going to try to find this audio and play it for people who haven't heard it. It's the same old, isn't it?
Yeah, the
Stand by.
trolls
Hang
are
on one
out in
second.
force.
Hang on one second.
Ban urban camping wherever possible. Violators of these bans will be arrested, but they will be given the option to accept treatment and services if they're willing to be rehabilitated. Many of them don't want that. We'll give them the option. We will then open up large parcels of inexpensive land, bring in doctors, psychiatrists, social workers, and drug rehab specialists, and create 10 cities where the homeless can be relocated and their problems identified. But we'll open up our cities again, make them livable, and make them beautiful.
So that's from Agenda 47. That's right off of Donald Trump's website. He will ban homeless people and arrest anyone who does not comply. I'll remind people who claim that they support veterans, there is a houseless population that includes veterans as well. So once again, complicit. Now, I'm sorry, previous guests, that you've never heard that, but you might want to pay attention. You might want to pay attention because that's the person that you want to support. That's the person that you've said you will support. Ridiculous. Been there, done that. How are you this evening?
I'm doing good, doing
Are
good.
you a
First
Trump
time I,
supporter?
oh, definitely.
Definitely.
I
Okay.
didn't hear anything wrong with with the video you just played.
You're okay with just locking up people?
I don't think, no, you see, so when you play that video, you probably should play it loud enough for everyone to hear because he didn't say he was locking up anyone. That's not what he said.
Really?
Yeah, because you're putting words in his mouth.
Urban camping wherever possible.
And what is
Violators of these
what
bans
is
will be
houseless
arrested.
Stop
mean?
talking.
What does that mean
Stop
though?
talking.
Houseless. But what is
Stop talking.
houseless?
Stop talking.
Ban urban
What is
camping
houseless?
wherever possible. Violators of these bans will be arrested, but they will be given the option to accept treatment and services if they're willing to be rehabilitated. Many of them don't want that. We'll give them the option. We will then open up large parcels of inexpensive land, bring in doctors, psychiatrists, social workers, and drug rehab specialists, and create 10 cities where the homeless can be relocated and their problems identified. We'll open up our cities again, make them livable, and make them beautiful.
So you don't see a problem with that? American citizens being told that they either go to these internment camps for forced drug treatment or what? Lock them up.
said-
You did. He said,
so-
should I play it again? He said,
No,
lock
I'm
them
gonna-
up, arrest.
So he said that he's going to have areas where they will be banned from camping or putting
He
up
said
tents or-
arrest. You need me to play it
Okay.
again?
He's going to have areas because
TikTok.
he wants to make
This
the
is
cities of
misinformation.
America
Ben.
beautiful again.
Ben, he said he would lock them up.
Why
arrest
do you
them.
have this live if you're not going to let anybody debate you?
No, because you're not
But
speaking
why are
the
you?
truth.
Let me finish.
Bro, this is not your house. I
You're
really don't
right.
care about your
Then why
feelings.
do you invite people to come on if you're too afraid to take on a debate?
I'm
What are
not
you
afraid,
of?
but you gotta
You're
start-
very afraid.
I'm not afraid, man. You
Then
think I'm
stop
afraid of you?
talking and let me finish.
Oh my God. Sorry, Cupcake. You have to listen one more time, okay? Listen one more time. Listen one more time.
Ban urban camping wherever possible. Violators of these bans will be arrested.
Violators of these bans will be arrested. Now, Ben,
you just said
Ben.
it yourself.
Excuse me. Violators of these bans will be arrested. So
Okay.
anybody who's homeless,
Yes.
that is homeless in a city,
Mhm.
will be arrested.
Yes, if they violate the bans. Anyone who violates, if someone breaks a policy and they're asked to be removed, if someone breaks a law, they get arrested. If you enter, you just like you can be trespassed from property. That's exactly what he's talking about. These
No.
areas that people
See,
decide to camp on them for themselves, where nobody wants to see them.
so you
Just
don't care
like
about
you,
freedom, Ben. You don't care about freedom.
okay. Private property is not freedom. You
It's
can't
not private
camp on
property, it's
private
public
property.
property.
Not all of them are on public
So
property.
now it's semantics. So you don't support freedom. You obviously don't. And you don't
What
support
do
our
you mean?
veterans.
What do you mean? So why? Okay, are you going to let me speak for me, or do you want to continue to speak for
It's
me?
pretty obvious you don't support
No, no.
veterans, Ben.
What's obvious is that you bring people on here because you're afraid of the debate.
Uh-huh. You don't support veterans, Ben. That's the problem, because veterans are part of that homeless population. And once again,
But
I
that's
can
their
play.
problem.
Oh, I
Yes.
see. Go ahead,
So
Anthony.
homeless people are homeless by choice.
Ben, I'm going to
Really?
mute you if you don't be quiet.
Really?
So
Homeless
now
by
I
choice.
can't speak.
Ben, I'm going to mute you if you don't be quiet.
Then why are we
Do you
on
hear
here?
me?
Why do
Be
you
an
have this
adult, Ben.
live?
Try to be an adult. Act like an
But
adult.
why do you have?
Okay.
Act like a grown-up. Okay, Ben? Act like a grown-up. We can have
Now,
a conversation,
Ben,
but act like
if
a
you want
grown-up.
to come up here and have a conversation, you have to do so quietly. I don't want to hear you yell.
Am I
don't
speaking
want to
too
hear you
loud?
Ben, I don't want
No, I'm asking a question. Am I being too loud though? Because I speak, I
Yeah.
talk
talking when I'm
loud.
speaking.
You're just
I talk
interrupting
loud.
No,
constantly.
listen.
Stop talking, Ben.
You know what, Ben? Goodbye. Goodbye, Ben.
Loser, fucking loser.
Goodbye, Ben. Goodbye, Ben.
There you go. There's an example. So I don't. Once again, MAGA. For those of you who claim to support veterans, we literally just played it. I'll remind you that houseless people do include veterans. So don't come up here and say that you support vets, and you'd be okay with that. This is typical MAGA. I don't have information, so I'm going to try to pivot to support Donald Trump for whatever he says. It's interesting. It's really, really interesting that you're okay with American citizens, and the information about the misinformation from people thinking that being homeless is a choice. It's just awful.
I want to
awful.
remind people that come up into this box. I have rules. My rule is you don't yell, you don't overspeak. If you're asked not to speak, that means we need you to wait your turn. We're either trying to get a clarifying statement said, or we're trying to figure out what it is your position is. Coming up here and yelling, all I'm going to do is basically disconnect you from the box. Now, if that guy Ben wants to come back up, cool. I'll let you come back up. But again, when you are asked not to speak, you don't speak. This is the house of Fax and Anthony. We make the rules. You don't make the rules. You want to get up in somebody else's live and monologue and say things that aren't true and speak mistruths? Go do that somewhere else. We don't do that here. And that's it. And if you don't like it, bro, I don't care. Go away.
It's the pivot for me, and it's the constant defense of Trump that he can do no wrong.
Yeah.
I would ask you all to realize that there's so many Americans, especially in the low end of the middle class, that are two paychecks away from being houseless. Two
Yeah.
paychecks. Was that by choice? Was that really by choice? To Ben's point, that's by choice.
Yeah.
Medical
that's-
bankruptcy in our country drives people to poverty, drives people to houselessness. Substance abuse disorder. We have to stop blaming everyone else except the person who has literally just said, and I can play it again, we will arrest people who are urban camping. What do you think urban camping means? You drive down a street in a city and you see people sleeping on the street. That's what they're talking about. They're American citizens. They have rights under the law. And again, in his own words, we'll give them the choice for treatment or what? Or what?
Yeah. Well, and this is the thing I think as a veteran that I find most frustrating, right? Is I don't see people like Ben at any of the events I go to. I don't see people like Ben volunteering to be a part of the Veterans Court. I don't see people like Ben helping houseless veterans with drug and alcohol rehabilitation issues like I do. I don't see Ben reaching in into his front pocket and giving money to help people out or taking them out for a meal or buying them clothes. I do these things and I have the receipts to prove that I do these things. And I've been doing these things for 30 fucking years. So I just, tonight, I'm going to tell you all right now, MAGA, tonight, this is my block and my fuck you thumb. And it is out. And it is out really, really early. You come up here disrespecting this space, saying things that aren't true that are going to get us shut down, you're gone. Like there's going to be zero exceptions tonight. We're not going to get shut down because TikTok thinks we're saying things that aren't true. We are going to protect our life. That is it. And if you don't like it, like unlike the airport, you may not have to feel the need to announce your exit. You may exit. The mods may exit you. Or your stupidity may get you exited, right? So we're not here to bully people. We're just here to get through factual information.
And as a reminder, it's really okay to be critical of your elected officials. That's the point in a democracy. That is the point. That's what your voice is supposed to mean. For people who just follow in line and believe whatever dear leader says, that's fascism, friends. That's what a dictatorship is. Now, I very rarely hear anyone who we talk to that are identified as MAGA, and we talk to a lot, who will ever say anything critical about Trump. That is a tenet of fascism. Whether you believe it or not, that's what it is. Do you not have any compassion at all for houseless people, including houseless vets? Because we hear so many of you bitch and moan about supporting an ally like Ukraine, saying, why couldn't we spend that money on veterans? And out of the other side of your mouth, you say, well, it's okay. It's their choice to be houseless. You live in that hypocrisy bubble. It's going to burst one of these days. So just ask yourself, this guy did say that he would lock up houseless people. You think he's going to pick and choose? Are you a vet? Oh, you're not? Oh, okay. You can stay.
Yep.
Be real. Be real.
And he's going to force people into situations, right?
Correct.
There are laws that protect adults from being made to take medicine if they don't want to take it.
Correct.
And part of that problem happens to do with the fact that starting in the mid 70s, state governments, mostly under GOP control, started defunding and shutting down state mental health institutions. And they have stayed shut down. So when we talk about mental health or we talk about veterans, I always find it interesting that everybody wants to wave a flag and do stuff like that. Why is it I don't see you handing out food to homeless veterans? Why is it I don't see you volunteering to hand out socks and toothbrushes like our brother Trucker did? Why don't I see you? Why are there never any Trump people at these events? I'll tell you why. They have no honor and they have no integrity, and they are completely complicit in the behavior and crimes of their cult leader, Trump, who has now been found liable for grape or essay. He has been found guilty of being a bigot and a racist from the state of New York. He has been found liable for fraud with the state of New York. He insults veterans on a regular basis. When he was president, he lied over 30,000 times. And yet, for some reason, you think that he's a good man. What does that say about you and your ability to critically think? I love that corgi butt. What does that say, right? Come up into the box. Have an adult conversation. I want to know why it is that you like this guy. I can't figure you out.
Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate you, bro.
Yep. Soapboxy.
It's a really good point. And again, I think this is the failure of the ability to critically think. And I would encourage you, Megan, I'm going to be sincere here. It's really, really okay for you to question your leaders. It really is. and you think the Democrats don't, I have been hypercritical of the Democratic Party my entire life. As long as I've been an active voter, I've been critical. Not progressive enough. Why haven't we passed universal health care? Why haven't we pushed for court reform? I want stronger EPA. I want stronger environmental protections. I want to fix the tax codes that we tax the rich. I want to tax the churches. I don't think Joe Biden's been progressive enough. I think he's too embedded to big oil. I want these kinds of things. Why is it so difficult? Why is it so difficult for you people who support Trump to say anything negative about him at all? You defend him. He sexually abused a woman. You defend him. You defend him. I'll say it again. You defend him with some twisted narrative about, well, you know, it was years ago and, you know, she's weird and she's wacky. And man, oh man, it is just so disturbing. Okay. It's because it's a lot. Good evening, Jason. How are you tonight?
Good. How are you?
Doing fine, thank you. What's on your mind this evening?
I mean, I understand that some people defend Trump, some people defend Biden. I don't like neither one of them. I mean, you look in the past, they're both really traitors, racist people.
Hold on a second, Jason. So if we're going to make claims like that, you can't just throw out that word without having evidence. So specifically, you said traitor. So how is Donald Trump a traitor?
Well, with the insurrection that happened on January 6th, I don't like what he said. I think he did promote on and do that part as far as the vocal point. So he could very well be classified as that,
Sure.
in my opinion.
Sure. I don't disagree. He's an insurrectionist. That was been affirmed by the U.S. Supreme Court that he is in fact an insurrectionist. So, and then your opinion, I want you to back it up. So you cited something specific to Donald Trump in regards to the insurrection in January 6th. So that's supported by facts. So I don't want an opinion on your opinion as to whether you think Joe Biden is a traitor. Do you have an example of why you think he is?
Yeah. Right now, in my opinion.
What did I just say, though, Jason? Not opinion. Supported by facts.
Okay, you want a fact? Okay. We have laws in place.
Right?
Okay? And they're there for a reason.
Okay.
When you come across the border, and I'm talking about the border,
Okay.
you know, if, you know, you're supposed to not allow them to come in, which the guy from Texas is a traitor, I think, too, because he takes the bus up to New York, Chicago, all that stuff.
Okay.
And I think that's wrong, too.
So are you aware, do you know what's required to claim asylum in America, Jason?
Yes, you go to the port of entry.
Nope.
And you request it. You don't just come across the border and just
Yes, you
enter
can.
the country.
Yes, you can. Yep, you can actually. The specifics of asylum law in the United States, the only way you can make an asylum claim is to have a foot on U.S. soil. It doesn't matter where you cross. It doesn't matter if you come across over a river, through a bridge, through the woods, port of entry, airline. It doesn't matter. That's the asylum law. Okay? So to make an asylum claim, again, doesn't mean that you're going to be granted asylum, but to make an asylum claim, you have to have a foot on U.S. soil, and you do not have to cross at a port of entry. Did you know that?
No. It says that you have to go to the port of entry.
It doesn't. So can we read?
No,
if
it
we
does
read you
not.
the asylum law, so if we read, would you believe it if we read you the law?
Read it from the Constitution, yes.
No. Sure, no problem.
It's not in the Constitution.
Exactly. So we'll read it to you. Okay. You got it pulled up, Anthony? I can pull it up if you need to.
Yeah, I was just typing it out right now, so
Okay.
I don't have it pulled up. Normally I
Jason,
do.
we're going to read you the law. All right. And I'm going to ask you specifically right now, if we read it and it tells you something different than you believe, will you accept that as the truth? Yes or no?
I would for now, and then I'd look it up later, but I
For
would
now. So you're going to ignore the law and you're going to look it
not
up later.
ignore. I would look at it at my eyes, because I don't trust government. I don't like government, but
Okay, so you don't trust government, but yet you're gonna look it up someplace else, and you're gonna then find something that supports your narrative. Seems
No.
kind of weird, right?
no, it wouldn't support my narrative. It either support what you had told me,
Right.
and I would verify it more so.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Sure. Do you have that, Anthony, or I can pull it up? You want me to?
Jason, can you mute your phone, please?
Yeah, you got to mute for a
Like,
second,
turn
because
your
you got a lot
ringer
of
off.
background noise.
How's that?
Well, we can hear the TV, so just mute and listen. Okay.
Okay.
There you go. Good call. So we want you to listen. Go ahead, Anthony.
People arriving at the U.S. border have the right to request asylum without being criminalized, turned back, or used for political stunts. That's really super important for you to understand. The very first requirement for seeking asylum is be in the United States. Period. That's it. Be in the United States. There's no other requirement to seek asylum. That's step one. Step two, turn yourself over to law enforcement. At that point, law enforcement will exercise Title VIII as a part of the INA, and they will go through a legal process to assess your ability to seek asylum. That's it. It's really, really simple.
And Jason, I'll even go one step further for you. Okay, this is from 8 U.S. Code 1158 asylum. So this is the U.S. law. 8 U.S. Code. You can look this up. Anybody can look this up if you want to. 8 U.S. Code 1158 asylum.
Yep.
Authority to apply for asylum. Any alien who is physically present in the United States or who arrives in the U.S., whether or not at a designated port of arrival, and including an alien who is brought to the U.S. after having been interdicted in international and or United States waters, irrespective of such alien status, may apply for asylum in accordance with this section or where applicable. That's the law, Jason.
Okay, now you all said something both. You have to go to, once you enter, you have to go to port of authority.
No.
Place.
Once again, that's not, it's not the law. No.
No. You had to turn yourself in. You said you had to turn yourself in.
You have to present yourself, yes. But again, I want to go back to what you said earlier, because you made the claim and then you argued with Anthony and I that said that you could only do it at a port of entry. So now that we've proven that that's not true, can you accept that?
Well, I'll accept that.
It's the law. I would hope so.
Now, when you cross and you have to report yourself as asylum seeker, right?
Right.
Whether it's law enforcement, whether it's port of entry, whether it's at a bridge.
It's only to law enforcement.
It's only to law enforcement. It can only be to border patrol. It can only be to border patrol specifically.
Yeah.
Okay. So it could be border patrol. It could be a police officer.
It can't be a police officer. They don't have jurisdiction. It can only be a border patrol.
Only border patrol.
Correct.
Okay. Let me ask you this: they crossing over, however, they bypass border patrol.
Sure.
They go into, let's just say, Oklahoma.
Sure.
Never turn themselves in. Isn't that illegal?
So entering the U.S.
It's a misdemeanor.
It's a misdemeanor. That is correct. I want you to know something, though, Jason, is that we're deporting more people than we are in record numbers. So I guess the question that I have for you, though, is that your entire argument was based on the fact that you believed, and now hopefully you're willing to accept the fact that you were wrong, that you believe that people can only claim asylum if they go through a port of entry. Now that you know that that's not the case, it's not Anthony's opinion or my opinion, it's the law. Again, 8 U.S. Code 1158, specific to asylum. I'll read the sentence again. Any alien who is physically present in the United States or who arrives in the United States, whether or not at a designated port of arrival. Okay? So that means anywhere they step foot on soil, they can make the claim.
Okay.
Okay? So it's a misdemeanor. They have a right to be here. Our law states there's also a process. They're put in the system. Now, we also know that the system is backlogged. It could take years for them to make their asylum claim. And we have data that tells us that it's like 96 or 97% of asylum claims are not approved. And then those folks are then deported. So what's the issue that you have with immigration?
Well, I have a lot of friends that has done it the right way. They've waited. They've done what they're supposed to. Then they've come over.
They've done it exactly how everybody else is doing it, the same way.
Right. I mean, they don't agree with what's going on, and I don't either. Everybody coming over and being able to.
Okay, Jason,
do
you're
all that.
pivoting around the question. The question I'm having. So, okay, so do you know how big the United States is? How many
Yeah.
people? How big?
Oh, there's quite a bit. There's two.
How many? You know,
Probably.
if you don't know, just say I don't know.
I don't really know the exact number or nothing
Okay,
like
it's
that. But
360 million on or about.
I knew it was over 300 million.
Okay,
But I
on or
can't
about
remember.
360 million. Okay, do you know how many people immigrated into the United States in calendar year 2022? Was it 2022, Anthony? I don't think we got the final numbers of 2023 yet. 2022.
I think it's
Do you know?
2022.
Do you know what the number was, Jason, by chance?
That migrated here over the border, southern border.
Correct.
I want to say it was like right around 350,000.
No, actually, it was 3.6 million, which is 1% of our population, Jason. 1%. We currently have 11 million jobs open in America. We need immigration. We need more workers. We have to have it. We will not survive. Again, the question I asked that you haven't answered, I'm going to hold you to this. One second, Anthony. I want to hold you to this. What is
Okay.
the issue that you have with immigration? Is it the people? I'm going to ask you frankly.
No,
Is
it's
it
not.
is
the
it
people.
is it the color of their skin?
No.
So then what is it? Because do you know that people cross the Canadian border too?
Oh yeah, of course. And the Canadian border. I mean, people cross the borders all the time in and out
Right.
of Canada and things
Sure.
like that.
And do you also
all
know
know
that the majority of people that are here that are it's the biggest issue we have with immigration is people who are overstaying visas, and they come from countries where the skin color is very similar to mine. But we don't ever hear talk about that.
Well, we have more of a problem, in all honesty, over the North Dakota, Washington type area up towards Canada that way than we and around Michigan than we do at the southern border. Yes, I agree with that. And I'm talking about all immigration that's coming over. I'm just not talking about the southern border. We have people that comes from Europe over here on a flight, on a
Sure.
work visa.
And they
that
overstay.
stays-
Right.
Exactly.
But
We need
again,
to
so the
correct
reason, but Jason, the reason I want to let Anthony talk, but the reason I brought, the way I asked the question that I did is because you tried to equate Joe Biden with being a traitor, and you immediately went to the southern border.
I didn't say southern border. I
You
just
did.
said the border.
Well, Jason, coming in illegally, we know what you were talking about. Okay, let's be real. Be sincere. This is a good conversation. Just be sincere. Okay, we know you were talking about the southern border. All right.
Well, I mean, it's gotten a lot more of attention, and yeah, I mean, the northern border does too. People in flights, people overstaying,
Well, I
stuff
know,
like that.
but you were only talking about the southern border. We know that. It's okay. It's okay.
But
We're trying to
But it's
inform
not the
here.
color of the skin. I mean, there's white people that crosses the southern border too.
Sure, but again, you were talking about the southern border. Go ahead, Anthony.
All right. So, Jason, I want to share with you one of my best statistics because this I think is really fascinating. When I share this with people, generally speaking, they're rather shocked. So I'm going to make a statement. You can agree or disagree, but this is actually true. The United States is just a touch larger than the entire country of China based on square miles. Would you be willing to accept that fact?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, here's the crazy part, right? There is 1.412 billion people in China. The United States has 331.9 million people.
That's right, 330.
There is so much available space here. And then there's also a glut of houses, apartments, abandoned hotels that aren't being used. Not only do we have enough land to take in 1 to 2 million asylum seekers a year, we have a deficit of 11 million jobs not filled, and we have more space, more land that's not had anything built on it than China. So when people talk about immigration, yes, Will, what about veterans? Well, you should go ask the GOP. Here's the thing, Jason, that always boggles my brain. We know that China and the United States are about the same size. We know that China has more people. We know for a fact that we are underemployed, meaning we have 11 million jobs that have not been filled. We also have an aging boomer demographic, right? The boomer generation is aging and retiring, and those on the older side of that are passing on to the next worldly plane, right? So we actually need people coming in because the generations after the boomers are having fewer children. There are fewer of those children going into trades. White people who always complain about the labor shortage or the lack of good workers never seem to understand that the people we should be punishing is not those seeking asylum or those who are migrant workers. It should be the capitalist system that rewards these large corporations from having these people show up. They get tax breaks. They don't have any punishment. But we go and disrupt countries in South and Central America and around the world for the last 141 years. We've been disrupting other governments, taking governments over, installing puppets. And you want to complain about 1% of our population on an annual basis coming here to seek a better life? We need more than that.
We do.
And I understand what you're saying, and I 100% agree with us sticking our noses in other countries' business that it don't belong. I 100% agree with that. And it don't matter who it is, whether it's Democrat or Republican, they all do the same thing. You know, so I agree with that. I think my more of a problem with immigration is do it legally. You know,
But we just explained to you
Covered that.
earlier, if I could, that doing it legally means putting one toe on the U.S. soil and then seeking a customer border agent to seek asylum. That's how the asylum process works. The migrant worker program is very successful, and they have IDs and they travel back and forth across the border. The real problem is, if I can be honest with you, because I hear what you're saying, and I really do appreciate that you're listening and that you're participating in this conversation. So this has been awesome. So thank you for that. The INA, the act that actually establishes the rules and guidance for immigration, was written in 1952, and Congress has sat on their asses since 1952 and has not updated it. Now, you sound like a reasonable person. Do you think that what was written in 1952 is really good in today's society, today's economy, today's world? Or do you think that maybe Congress should get off their ass and do something and fix that problem? Because that's what would really fix immigration, is actually amending the law and addressing things in a law that no longer work. The poor people in Border Patrol are literally hemmed into a law written in 1952. So we don't give them enough funding. It's very difficult now to become a cross-border agent. The amount of skills you have to have, the background checks, right? So they're very short. The court system could certainly use a little love. But at the end of the day, we, the United States of America, are our own problem because of one reason. Every year, Congress knows what needs to be fixed. But because there is such a philosophical divide between the GOP and the Democrats, they can't ever seem to get together to fix the things that actually will propel the United States of America forward, that will actually make things better. But people want to throw out stuff like, what about homeless veterans? What about the fact that every single time a Democrat has brought up a bill, the GOP has killed it? What about mental health facilities? What about the fact that every time a Democrat brings it up, the GOP kills it? So we could talk about these things, but what it really comes down to, Jason, is that we need Congress to fix the INA. And until they do that, we're going to probably agree to disagree. And I'm okay with that in this situation, right?
Yeah,
You're
and
going
I
to
think
have your opinion. I'm going to
Yeah.
have my opinion, right?
And I'm in agreement with you. I mean, Congress needs to get off their ass
Mhm.
and they need to do stuff. And it's not just the Republicans, it's not just the Democrats, it's both sides. Because, like you said, in
Mhm.
1952, I mean, that's 70 years.
Mhm. So
So we've had Democrats on that owned the Congress. We've had Republicans on the
correct,
Congress. So,
correct.
and that's why I'm more of an independent I'm not a I used to be a Democrat, then I changed to independent,
Sure.
within the past 6 years.
So
Uh,
I guess the thing that I want you to consider, though,
mhm.
Jason, and I think it's really, really important because I would hope that you would agree that when we were talking earlier about why you felt that Joe Biden was a traitor, you connected the border issue to Joe Biden. And I just heard you say that, and Anthony described it very well, laid it out very, very well, that this is an issue that goes back 70 years specifically, because we are currently running under the same immigration law. Now, as a sincere person that I think you are, is there any one person to blame for this?
No.
Okay, so then could we get you to agree that maybe the narrative you had in your head attempting to blame Joe Biden for this, like I don't blame Donald Trump for it. I don't blame Barack Obama for it or George Bush for it. It's the system, right? So do you think it's possible that maybe you could remove that feeling that it's Joe Biden's fault? Because he can't do anything because the law has to be changed.
I can remove it a little bit, but I'm still blaming Trump. I'm still blaming Biden and all the previous presidents on this
Okay, that's
because
fair.
it's been a build-up. It has been a build-up,
Sure.
and we all know it. And
That's
we
fair.
all know, and we all have computers. We all have uh, internet and so much speed and all this
Right.
technology that we can have this fixed so easily.
Well, it takes an act of Congress, and I want to jump in because I saw a comment. An executive order will not close the border. It doesn't work that way. I'm sorry, but
Exactly.
it's against the law. It's a violation of U.S. law. So no. Again, this is another example of what we're talking about, misinformation. I'm going to get to our disclaimer in a second, but it requires Congress. Now, there are levers that the president can pull, but only if Congress acts. To change law, you can't do that with an executive order. So once
Well, I
again,
don't like executive orders. I
you can't
hated
use
when
it.
Trump
Yeah,
done
yeah.
5,000 times. That was ridiculous.
Exactly. Exactly. So I
Yep.
appreciate you jumping in with us tonight, Jason. I think this has been a really good conversation. So I guess I would just
Thank you,
ask
Jason.
you just to be sure that you're looking at the things, like you didn't understand the asylum law. And that's fine. That's fine. Not everybody does. But now that you know that it only takes somebody stepping out, and again, it's 8 US code, where is it? 8 US code 1158. You can look that up yourself if you want to. It's literally the code, and it will explain that it only requires a person to step foot on US soil, doesn't matter where, to make an asylum claim. Okay?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the conversation, and we can agree and disagree, and
Sure.
that's what it is about,
Totally
and
agree.
things like that. And I've enjoyed it and things like that. You learn something new every day, and whoever wins, hopefully they do a better job than the previous presidents.
That's right, Jason. Thank you very much for joining tonight. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All
Jason.
right, bye.
Thank you, Anthony.
Can I read? Yeah, thank you, sir. Can I read the disclaimer, please?
I would
Yeah.
love
It's
to
about
hear
that
this
time.
disclaimer. Let's hear it.
TikTok, it is our intention during these live broadcasts to only provide facts-based information to the absolute best of our ability. We strive to never spread misinformation or to platform those that do. The opinions of our guest or commentators are theirs and theirs alone and do not reflect those of the host. Hate speech is not allowed, and we are diligent about policing it. This platform is for educational purposes only.
So, Albine, the reason I invited you to come up is that you said you were spamming that the host was wrong. So, can you tell us what we're wrong about? First of all, good evening. Hope you're having a good night so far. What was I wrong about, or were we wrong about?
Involved. If
Sorry,
it is a
you
crisis,
were muted.
yeah,
You were muted. We didn't hear the first part.
I said you're wrong. That we closed the border down. If there was a crisis at the border, the president does have the power to close that border at any time he wants.
Can you cite that source, please, Albin?
I could get it for you.
Sure, go get it.
We're going to cite sources on
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, you can. So Albin, I saw you steal a
Hold
truck.
on, I'll get it for you.
I saw you steal a truck. I saw you steal a truck.
You did? That's
Yep.
funny. I've never committed a crime in my life.
I don't need a source for that. I can just make that claim, right?
So what you're saying is, there's no crisis at the border.
No, there's no.
That's
crisis at the
funny. You
border.
know why? Because I
Why are you
live in
pivoting? Why are you
Texas.
pivoting away, Albin? So
I'm
you said
I'm
you were,
not. I'm not.
no,
How,
you are
how is that
because you said you were
pivoting
going to.
away?
You said you were going to get because you said you were going to get a source.
Then
'Cause
you
made
asked
the-
me a question. So
well,
I stated
no,
an
no,
answer.
no. You said you were going to go get the source. So I said you made a claim. The claim you made was the president can shut down the border anytime he wants.
Anytime
I'm
it wants,
saying-
called executive powers.
No.
Done.
So again, your claim.
Absolutely.
So I need you to cite your source. It doesn't work that way, Albin. Okay, it does not
It's
work
called the
that way.
Constitution of the United States of
No, it's
America.
not.
Are you
So
familiar with it?
I am, but I need you to cite
Executive
the
power,
source.
the president's power of executive.
So are you just trying to paraphrase, or can you cite the source? Can you tell me?
Paraphrase.
Can you show me exactly?
I just told you.
No, you didn't. That's
United
not a source.
States Constitution, presidential executive power
To do what?
to pass any laws in the midst of a crisis or a war.
No, the president doesn't pass laws, Albin. Congress passes law.
It's not. You're right. It's not a law. Absolutely.
Right.
But
so
to make changes in policies when there is a crisis
it's incorrect.
or a war,
It's
he's
incorrect.
allowed to do it.
The War Powers Act is different. That's different. What you're talking, what we just explained to you, Albin. Again,
You could try to explain to me all you want.
well, because
It
you're
doesn't
not willing
make yours facts.
Oh, so the Constitution that I actually cited about asylum, that's not factual?
Seeking asylum, you're supposed to be to the country that's connected, the nearest,
No, it's
closest
not.
country. Yeah,
Read it
is.
again.
Okay.
8 U.S. Code 1158 asylum. 8
Yep.
U.S. Code, which means that's the U.S. law.
Mhm.
8 U.S. Code. Any
Listen,
alien, excuse me.
You know
Excuse
as well
me.
as I know,
Excuse
I
me.
could cite all this stuff out of U.S. codes, and there's always something that is before,
Oh.
during, or after it that
Right.
will contradict what you're saying.
Sure, 8 U.S. Code.
So, I mean-
see, 8 U.S. Code 1158 asylum. Any alien who is physically present in the United States or who arrives in the United States, whether or not at
Under
a designated port.
Under
no,
threat.
doesn't say
Under
that.
threat.
Are you adding words?
No, I'm not adding words. You see,
are.
you're just not reading before or after.
8 U.S. Code 1158 asylum. Category A, authority to apply for asylum. 1. In general, any alien who is physically present in the United States or who arrives in the United States, whether or not at a designated port of arrival, and including an alien who's brought to the United States after having been at an international or United States waters, irrespective of such alien status, may apply for asylum in accordance with this section or, where applicable, section 1225B of this title. What do you not understand about that?
Oh, no, I understand it just fine, except you're leaving out the part where you have to have a threat. Your life is in danger.
No, that's not. That's
okay,
that's
bud.
no, Albin. That is the asylum review process. To make a claim for asylum is exactly what I read. Then you go through the process of the review. You're interviewed.
Buddy,
They
you're
hold on.
talking
Let me
from a
finish.
family of
Let me
immigrants
finish. Let me finish. Then they determine during your asylum interview process as to whether or not you can then make the asylum claim and then be granted asylum. The asylum claim is exactly as I read it to you.
So what you're saying is by what you're reading, and I'm not saying
No,
it's
what
false.
the Constitution is saying. Albin.
Listen, you listen. I let you talk. Now you let me talk. I'm not saying what you read is not facts. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
You're leaving out a lot of before and after. First of all, second off,
What before and after am I leaving off?
hold on.
No, what
Can I
no,
finish?
what-
There you
what
go,
be-
interrupting me again.
Well, I'm not going to let you monologue with bullshit.
I'm not
man.
monologuing.
What before
I
and
just want
after?
to finish my sentence, and then
What
we'll go back to
before
it.
and after did I leave off?
You left out a lot. Okay,
Like
let's
what?
first
Like what?
for starters, to get on to American soil or to get into the United States water, you have to do it in a certain kind of way.
No, you
You just-
don't.
No, you do.
You don't. I just
You
read it
do.
to
You
you.
don't.
You don't.
No.
We
You
literally just
do.
read it, man. We just read it to you.
It's called.
You need me to read it
listen,
again?
Listen, I can go through this all day, all night with
and
you.
be wrong all day and all
And be
night.
wrong.
No, I'm not wrong.
So
I
so
know I'm
you-
not
so
wrong.
You so let me get this straight. So Al Bean on TikTok is more correct and accurate about how a person makes an asylum claim than the U.S. Constitution.
I have more experience in this than you reading the
Oh.
U.S. Constitution.
Right.
My mother,
So
my
your
father were
experience-
immigrants.
so your
my grandparents
experience-
were immigrants.
I don't.
My
So were mine.
aunts and
So
uncles are
your
immigrants.
your experience trumps the Constitution.
Yeah, I would say my experience constitutes your analogy of the Constitution.
It's not an analogy. An analogy
Jesus
would be a
Christ.
comparison, Albie.
Yeah.
Okay, this isn't a comparison. This is what the law says. Do you need me to read it
Okay.
again?
Read before and after. Read the whole thing. Read the whole thing
I
on
just
seeking
did.
asylum. That's not the
U-
whole thing.
8 U.S. Code 1158 Asylum. A. Authority to apply for asylum. Number 1. In general, any alien who is physically present in the United States or who arrives in the United States, whether or not at a designated port of arrival, and including an alien who is brought to the United States after having been interdicted in international or United States waters, irrespective of such alien status, may apply for asylum.
Okay,
That's
so
the
let's
whole
pretend.
thing.
Let's pretend there's nothing else, no one and no other U.S. codes. Let's just pretend that for a fact. Let's put
Okay.
that down in
Let's
writing.
pretend.
Let's pretend.
Okay.
Then
let's
why the
pretend
fuck
that Al
do
Bean
we
knows
have
the
borders
Constitution
to
too.
begin with?
I'm sorry, what?
Why the fuck do we have borders to begin with? Why is there border patrol to begin with?
Because we have a
Because
border. We still
because
have
we
a
gotta
border,
stop
man.
them from coming in by the
doesn't-
millions.
Jesus fucking
It doesn't
Christ.
mean, dude. Here, Anthony pulled it up. Okay, there you go. There you go, bro.
You make
It's right
no
there.
sense.
That-
The same
It's the same
government
thing that I
that
just
is
read.
providing the Constitution and protecting it has got border patrol up and down the whole border of Mexico. We have
Right,
ports
but
in
wha-
Canada.
Because they are policing against illegal entry. But once you get,
Oh,
but you
so
again,
so
Alvin,
all,
so you think
all
it's
an immigrant has to do is say, "I'm seeking asylum."
Yes.
No matter what the purpose
Correct.
is.
Yes.
And that makes it legal.
Correct.
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 You finally get it.
Oh, I see. And you buy all that bullshit, right? Is that what
It's
you're
the
saying?
law, Albin.
buy all that
can
bullshit.
Can I
People
ask
break
a
the law all
question?
day.
It's the
We got
law.
prisons
You may not
full
like
of
the
people
law,
that
so
didn't
you're
do it.
obviously a Republican voter, Alvin. So my suggestion
Oh,
to you is to reach out to
no,
a
I'm an
Republican
American.
official.
That's what I am.
No, you're not.
Hey, can I ask you a
Oh,
question?
okay. Now you're
You're-
telling me
you're
I'm
that.
not an American. Okay.
Yeah, you're a traitor.
Albin, did you graduate from high school? And I mean this sincerely, because I'm super confused.
Buddy, I
And
graduated from Berkeley.
Right.
You graduated from Berkeley?
Yes, I
You
most
sound
certainly
like you're
did. I got my
from- you
producer's
sound like
and
you're
engineer
from-
degree at Berkeley School of Music in downtown Boston. Absolutely.
Cool.
Berkeley.
I'm from a
School of
Democratic
Music.
state, might I add. I just want to let
So?
you know
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I
So you're
I
telling
know
me
you're
I'm
from-
Republican,
I know,
and I'm
listen,
born and
hey,
raised in a Democratic state with a
hey.
whole house
You're
full
still a
of
Republican.
immigrants.
Everybody
You're
knows
still
you're
MAGA.
from Massachusetts because you're acting like a masshole right now. So take it down a level.
Yeah.
And take your turn. We know where you're from. We can hear it. We know the accent. Both of us used to live there. My wife is from there. That's not impressive. Your anecdotal talking points about how members of your family are immigrants does not make you qualified to speak on immigration. I literally showed you on the screen the actual law. You want to live in a cocoon of ignorance? That is your right as an American citizen. I fully agree with it. But you cannot come here after literally saying, I want to hear this disclaimer before we let you speak. I read the disclaimer, and apparently that didn't sink in either. So let this wash over you. All you have to do to seek asylum is be inside the United States, period. There are an awful lot of steps that happen after that.
Right.
But in order to seek asylum, you have to be in the United States. You cannot do it from another country. The reason why we have Border Patrol is the same reason why we have locks on houses.
How did
Because
you get
there's
in
a-
here? There's where we split paths. When you
So
say
let's-
all you have
let's-
to do is be here.
So let's back
How
up a
did
second.
you get
So
in
Albion,
here?
I think where the confusion lies for you.
If you crossed illegally, it's
me-
illegal.
It-
Right, it's
No.
a misdemeanor. It's a misdemeanor.
It's a misdemeanor.
Right. So
It doesn't
Albin,
matter.
Jaywalking.
It doesn't
I think,
matter. We
Albin,
still have
hold on
the
a second.
ability to
Deep
send
breath.
them back and
Deep,
make them do
deep,
it legally.
deep
No,
breath. Okay.
you do
Hold on
not.
one
Yes.
second, guys. Hang on one
No,
second, guys.
you do
Hang on.
not.
Hang on
Okay.
one second. Albin, I think where the confusion lies for you is that you're focused on the asylum process, meaning whether or not they're granted asylum. The law
No,
is.
what I'm
Let
focused
me
on.
finish
What I'm
talking. Let me finish.
focused
Don't
on.
interrupt. Stop. Use that Berkeley education to learn self-control. If you're in music, you know what self-control and tempo and timing is. Mods, please don't mute. Let me do that when I'm talking. It just makes it easier for me to control the conversation.
That was
But
me.
thank you. Okay, sorry.
That was
so,
me.
So specifically, Albin, where I think you're hung up on the asylum approval process, asylum being granted. Now, I do find it very odd that you are telling us it's not like I didn't just reach into my desk or, up my butt and pull out some language to make the claim that it's the asylum law. We read the law to you. You may not like the law. That's fine. You don't have to like the law, but it is the law. I think what you're hung up on is whether or not someone is granted asylum, because you reference they have to come from a war-torn country or strife or whatever it might be. That is part of the asylum review. I think it's 96 or 97% of asylum applicants are denied. Okay? It doesn't change the fact that the law is very clear. You only have to step foot. And we've also learned from our Border Patrol friends that they can't stop someone from crossing the border. They can't do that by law. They're not allowed to do that under the law. Okay? So knowledge is power, Albin. And I know you feel like you're right about this, but there's just so much information that you either don't have or there's a narrative that's now in your head that you're convinced that we're wrong and you're right. So you can unmute.
Well, for starters, you say that they can't stop them at the border. Then why do we have Border Patrol?
So
Why
would
do we
you like to
have
speak? Would
government
you like to speak to an
agents?
immigration attorney?
I don't need to. Why do I need to speak to an immigration attorney?
Someone who's an
I have immigration attorneys I deal with all the time. My
Oh.
family's still being
right.
getting
So
their citizenship.
I think you're afraid to speak to an immigration attorney.
Why? Put them on. Let's go. Put them on. Immigration attorney. Let's go. Let's
Cool.
hear it.
Sweet. Rollo, if you're there, brother, please request. If I'd like to have you talk to you, I'd like to have you talk to you because we've tried. And we're
I
trying
just
to
saw him.
we're
Hold
trying
on.
to provide information, and I think it's really, really important that we navigate through some of this misinformation because we're just trying to share. So, Albin, I would appreciate you would listen. Rollo's a friend, but he's an objective guy, and he only ever comes into our platform and provides objective information. So, welcome, Rollo. Appreciate you're here, brother.
Hi, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know what the confusion is. I think they cited to the correct law regarding the process of seeking asylum. And definitely the first step is to be on US soil. There is no way around it. Some people do confuse refugees with asylum seekers. And if you're talking about refugees, then you can be outside of the US in a third safe country and then seek asylum there before you get processed and then let into the country as a refugee. And that is the legal status, right? As a refugee. But when it comes to asylum seeking under 8 USC 1158, all you have to do is be on US soil. And it doesn't matter how you enter the country. You can jump across, swim across on a boat, whatever. As long as you step on US soil, then you can turn yourself into immigration authorities and then begin the process, right?
So,
Then you have
Rollo, I want to make sure that you're correct. First of all, I'm not going to ask you for your credentials and your bar number and all that stuff. That's out of
what's your question?
My question is this. So if you're telling me all you got to do is step foot and the President of the United States welcomes all immigrants in so we could have every immigrant from here until the ends of the earth
So you're arguing a
walk
slippery
across the
slope,
border,
right?
walk
Listen,
across the
you're
border
arguing a
and
slippery
seek
slope.
asylum.
It has no bearing. It has no bearing on the law. So anybody who
So what you're telling me,
reached
that
US
is the
soil can
only
Let him answer your question,
law.
Albin. Let him
I'm
answer your
asking
question.
another question.
Well, he wasn't finished answering the first one yet.
Okay.
Okay.
I
Go
know
ahead,
it's
So
funny. I always get interrupted, but I can't interrupt
I'll
somebody
let
else.
you talk. I don't need to
I
overtalk you.
want to ask you in your
Go ahead.
legals. You're a lawyer, right? So
Yeah,
you're
go ahead.
telling me there's only one section that you're stating of immigration law. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm telling you what the process to begin asylum is. I can cite a lot of other laws, but
Then start citing the other laws. Then I want to hear the other laws.
all right. So the beginning, I mean, you're asking if people to seek asylum, you have to be on U.S. soil. That is the law. So you
That's not.
step on
Oh,
U.S. soil.
that wasn't
Listen,
the question.
listen,
That wasn't the
listen,
question.
listen, listen. Now it's my turn, right? I need to talk. So you step on U.S. soil, and then you turn yourself over to authorities, and then you start the process. You go through an credible fear interview, and your fear of persecution, past persecution, or fear of future persecution has to be based on the grounds of political opinion, nationality, race, religion, or membership in a particular social group. If you pass the credible fear interview, then you can continue on with the asylum process. They let you in, normally to a sponsor, someone that could take care of you financially while you go through the application process.
Hmm.
Once you're in, you can apply. It's called an I-589. That is the application for asylum. You
Hmm.
fill it out, you turn it in, you get fingerprinted, and then you're able, after 6 months, you're able to apply for an EAD. That is an employment authorization document. And you also get a social security number so that you can
Hmm.
work legally and then you can pay taxes.
Hmm.
While you wait for your case to be adjudicated before an immigration judge, that could
Hmm.
take a few years. And then you have the opportunity to present your case with an attorney. They We make arguments. We go before an immigration judge, and if you win, then you get granted asylum. You become an asylee. If you get granted asylum, then you, after a year, you can apply for legal permanent residency, and after 5 years, you can apply for citizenship. The
Hmm.
unfortunate part is that we are under what's called the INA, Immigration and Nationality Act of
Well, yep.
1952,
Hmm.
right? The INA of 1952 is a very stringent law that limits immigration. I think way too much, right? Because it was passed in 1952 at the height of the xenophobia, racism, American interventionism, and the Red Scare. So that was the mentality of the people who passed these laws. And it's also passed in 1952 and hasn't been really updated since then. So it's very problematic. So a lot of people don't like how immigration works right now. But it's not the fault of the immigrants that the laws are how they are. And the asylum process is how I described. So based on that, what questions do you have?
You're muted. There you go.
I think you're
Albine,
still muted.
you're muted.
Well, you get unmuted. I mean, a lot of people like to argue what they would like it to be, and they like to argue slippery slopes, right? Oh, if we let everyone in, then we'll have 7 billion people here and we can't handle that.
Right.
Well, that's just a logical fallacy. It's a slippery slope. It's something that's not going to happen.
Exactly.
Most people don't like to leave their countries unless their countries are destabilized. Right?
Correct.
I'm from Guatemala. If
A lot.
anybody's been to Guatemala, it's the most beautiful country in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And we would love to be there, but
And he
because of
left.
well, there you go.
Yeah. Also, he was saying that the president of the United States can close the border. I would like to remind everyone in the comments that was agreeing with him. Our court system found that the law and executive order that Trump tried instilling in 2018 was actually unconstitutional, and it was struck down. A president, by executive order, cannot close the border down. Does
That
not
is
have
correct,
the
right,
authority
Rolo?
to do it.
Yeah, that's definitely correct. The only thing that Trump was able to do is under the emergency powers because of COVID-19.
Title
He
42.
was able
Right.
to push for Title 42,
Right.
but
Yep.
we're not under that emergency anymore, so that expired. And even the Title 42 was very problematic. It didn't do anything to fix the flow, to fix anything. It just kind of try to put a stop hole, in the process, and then it just created a lot of backlogs. It created a lot of problems, and a revolving door because there was no punishment to coming in and out, multiple times. Whereas under the regular law, 8 USC, that's the code that reigns the law of asylum, there is punishments, you know, if you come in multiple times. So it's more, people are respected their due process, but there's also punishments if you violate the law.
Yeah.
So
Well,
even at that, it's not good law at all.
my friend, I thank you for being available.
Thank you, Rolo.
We're channeling you, so you must have been hearing the conversation because it's so necessary. So hopefully that was an opportunity for some folks to learn. We can only hope. But thanks for jumping in, bro. We
I
appreciate
hope
it
so.
very much.
I'm sad that he fled, because I think we could have had a good conversation. But
We tried.
I'll be listening.
I appreciate
Yeah.
it, brother. Thanks a lot.
I'll be
Please
listening.
follow Rolo, friends. He's really
Yeah.
well informed, as you can see.
Thanks, Rolo.
Incredibly well. Thanks, brother.
you.
So, again, we can't help people who are unwilling to try to understand the specifics. The idea behind this is very, very simple. Very, very simple. The law is the law. You may not like it, but it is
Yes.
the law. So there you go.
And as a reminder, 98% of all asylum seekers never break the law.
Correct.
They're some of the most law-abiding persons we have within the United States. And as a matter of fact, the highest level of offenders in the United States of America is YT males between the ages of 18 and 45. So
Please, friends, if you guys could like and share the live, we'd really appreciate that. Tap, tap, tap away. Let's see if we can drive a few thousand more likes. Please share. Please gift our panelists. Good evening, Doc. How are you tonight? Doc.
I'm good. How are y'all?
Fine, thank you, sir. What is on your mind tonight?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Well, there are a couple of problems with just stepping foot on the U.S. soil and
Okay.
claiming asylum.
So the
That's if
immigration
you haven't
attorney.
committed any crimes.
Right. So Doc, I think you're conflating a couple of different things here. So we just went through the asylum claiming process. Anybody can make a claim, and then you go through the interview stage next. So the law is specific that allows anybody who steps foot on U.S. soil can make the asylum claim.
Yes, there is a difference between making a claim of asylum and getting granted asylum. I agree
Correct.
with you there.
Correct.
Anybody can make a claim as long as they have not broken a law.
No, that's incorrect. They can make the claim, but they then have to go through. Let me finish, please. Anybody can make the claim, Doc. And then, as Rolo just described, there are steps after they make the claim. Okay? So what you're focused on is that they may be denied initially based on their interview during that process, but anybody can make the claim. That's what our law says. Do you need me to read that
A
again?
while ago. No, sir. I heard it.
Okay.
I'm bringing up a point. A while ago, you put a period at the end of it. You even said period.
Yeah, because I read the end.
You remember that?
Yeah, because I read the entire thing.
I'm just okay. So, and I'm bringing this up to make a point. A drug smuggler comes over, gets busted. Oh, well, I'm on U.S. soil. I'm claiming asylum. He gets
So that would
automatically
be-
put through the system.
Right, but again, that's a fair point. I guess the question though is you're confusing people being able to make a claim with someone being denied either at their interview or whatever else. So if somebody's arrested, then they're arrested. That's a crime. They're two different things.
Coming over the border illegally is a crime.
No,
It's a misdemeanor.
It's a misdemeanor, Doc. It's a misdemeanor.
much like jaywalking.
Right. So what part of the claim process do you not understand?
I get the claiming. I'm not denying the claim, and I'm not against immigration.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not.
Okay.
Okay, I think it needs to be done right. I think that the border should be closed down, and there should be a entry point, because if you have not been to a border town where the crimes are being committed, businesses have been robbed, houses have been broken into.
Right, but again, I think you're. I want to try to bring this back to the specifics where I think you're a little bit hung up, Doc. 1 second, Anthony. I just want to get this out of my head. You're hung up on but again, having, I think you gotta mute, bro. I want to try to bring this back. Okay. To the specifics where I think you're a little bit hung up, Doc. Doc, 1 second, Andy. You're gonna have to leave the app, Doc. You got a lot of back feedback, bro. Doc, there you go. So again, please stay muted for just a second, and please just listen. You're hung up on the claim process, okay? You keep pivoting it away and bringing in things that are irrelevant to the conversation because I feel like you say you support immigration. I'm not so sure. We'll find that out in a minute or two. Specifically, all right, you make a claim, only do so by stepping foot on U.S. soil. And then as Rollo described it, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that has to happen after that, okay? So again, you can unmute, and I want to make sure you understand that. And then I'm going to ask you another question, so you can unmute. Only do so by stepping foot on U.S. soil. Doc, you're going to have to swipe up and out of the app and then come right back down, okay? Because we have feedback. We can't have this conversation. Doc. Okay. You can request again if you want to. So one more time.
And we were so close.
I know.
Like I was like, dang it! Like, damn you, technology.
One more time. People are confusing the specifics around the application process, the claimant process, and the approval process. You only have to be crossing without the asylum process in place without making the claim is a misdemeanor, much like jaywalking. Okay, Border Patrol cannot stop someone from doing that. They are not allowed to do that under international law.
Yes.
All it requires is someone to step foot on U.S. soil. Doesn't matter where you cross. Now, MAGA, I still see a lot of you in the chat disagreeing with that. We can't help you. You just got to read the law. That's what the law is. You guys claim to be the party of law and order. You claim to be the party of law and order. We have an immigration attorney, not only an immigration attorney, but somebody who's actually been through the process himself. Also advised you the president cannot issue an executive order to close the border. It is unconstitutional. Supreme Court has already ruled on that. Trump tried to do it in 2018. The only way he could use that was during the Emergency Act due to COVID, which was Title 42. Then that expired. We're back to Title 8, which is what we have now. That is the law, okay? I don't know how else to describe it. I really don't. So we'll try again with Doc. Okay. All right. So Doc.
Sorry about that. I had
that's okay.
Background or
that's okay.
Feedback.
That's okay. So did you catch all that? Because what I think's happening is you're confusing everything other than the specifics around making the claim. So then I'll ask you a specific question. Do you agree that the only thing required to make an asylum claim is to step foot on U.S. soil?
I agree that that's the way that the law is written. Yes.
Okay. So then your issue is
So
then
yes,
is with
that's
the
a fact.
law?
I have issue the way it's interpreted. Yes.
What do you mean how it's interpreted?
Because you can't say it's this way, one way, all right, and then change it, well, unless this happens. All right? It's either going to be this way or it's not, period. You're going to say, okay, if they step foot on the ground, they can claim asylum.
Correct.
They can make a claim for asylum.
Correct.
Okay? And I'm bringing back the someone that breaks the law. It doesn't matter, misdemeanor or felony. It's still breaking the law.
Right, but it's part of the
And-
asylum claim process, so it's a misdemeanor, right? That's the law.
Still breaking the law. Am I right or wrong?
You're right, but you can't
Still
make an
breaking the
asylum
law, right or
claim.
wrong?
Hold on. Yes, it's a misdemeanor, but you can't make an asylum claim unless you're on what, Doc?
Public soil. I mean, U.S. soil. I'm sorry.
Correct.
U.S. soil.
Correct. So asylum is not against the law. A claim of asylum is not against the law. We are a country that has an asylum law literally written into our rule book. The only way to do it is to be on U.S. soil. Now, if you don't like the law, then we don't like the law either. It's the same law we've had since 1952. We don't like it either, right? I think it's, quite frankly, I think it's way too complicated. We need more immigration. I'm in favor of more of it, but it doesn't. The criticism, because I feel like you want to blame somebody, Doc. Like, who do you want to blame for this?
I'm not blaming anyone. What I'm saying is, again, they either need to rewrite it,
Right.
or they need to make accountability, make a point of entry. So, first of all, we have numbers of who's coming in.
We do.
Where are we going to house
We
them
do have
once
that.
they get here?
We do have numbers.
Where are we housing them?
That's up to them in many cases.
You have a
Can
number
I
of
answer
every.
that question?
Sure, go ahead, Anthony.
All right. So, Doc, as a part of the process, there are records created. And in many instances, we know exactly where they are fairly close to all of the time. Now, you asked about housing. We have more abandoned residential and commercial property in the United States than we have people unhoused, meaning people that don't have a place to live. So there is plenty of room. The United States is just a little bit bigger than China. Did you know that China has 1.4 billion people and the United States only has 331 million people? Meaning there are more square miles available per person in the United States with less population than China, even if we took on what people keep claiming are these millions of people. Right now, about 1% of the United States population comes to seek asylum, right? 98% of those get rejected. So instead of 1%, it ends up being about 0.1% that actually are going to get through, right? So we're talking maybe, actually, no,
Okay.
100%, right? So it'd be like 300,000 people, right? We have 11 million jobs that are not filled, and yet we're only allowing about 300,000 asylum seekers. I think it's actually even under 280,000 last time I looked. We don't have enough people coming here to fill the jobs that we have open because we have an aging population within the boomers. They are retiring at a very high rate. Gen X, which is what me and the host are in, we're next, right? We're not too far down the road, right? So we have to have immigration. Countries who are a part of the capitalist system or the socialist system even have to rely on labor and workers coming from other places. We don't have enough people here. People aren't having children at the same rate that they did in the greatest generation and in the boomer generation. And we are in a critical shortfall for skilled workers and people in the trades. Immigration is the one thing that's actually going to help us and will prevent economic calamity from happening because we'll have more people paying into the tax system than we have taking out. So I get it. Like the law is super clunky, it's super old, it's super confusing. But just like I told the guest before, Congress has to do something. No one is disagreeing that our immigration system is, quite frankly, fucked up because it is fucked up. But it's fucked up because the law was written in 1952 and we haven't spent any time doing any actual repair or making it better. It's literally a talking point to try to have people live in fear when the fact of the matter is, you mentioned border towns. I live in Los Angeles County and I ride my motorcycle quite often to the country that is just to the south of me by 2 hours. That's Mexico. And I go there specifically because I like the food and I have friends there. So I am at the border quite often. Not only am I there, but I have plenty of people that I ride motorcycles with there. One of them is literally there every other week because that's where his mom lives. But he's now a U.S. citizen. So, you know, if we really want to focus on the problem, right? It's not what we're talking about right now. It's that we have had for decades an ineffective set of presidents and congresspersons who have refused to step up and fix the actual problem. So there is plenty of blame to go around, and it is incredibly frustrating. I don't like the way the system works.
Nope.
I think it's ridiculous.
Agreed.
But it's what we have. So, trust me, no one's going to elect me to be a congressperson. So, I have to rely on people that can pass the litmus test to show up in Congress and do their job, which is to craft and pass legislation. And right. And,
So,
and they're
Doc,
not doing that. And
So,
so,
so-
what I'm
yeah.
hoping out of this.
I'm just going to say.
Go ahead.
I was just
Let
going
me
to say.
start off again. Hold on.
Go ahead, Doc.
Let me start off 1 second. Let me reintroduce myself. I didn't think I introduced myself great. I'm Robert from Texas. Forced into retirement from a retired firefighter. Broke my neck and back for the second time 2 years ago. Had to retire from farming. So yes, I believe in immigration workers on the farms and ranches, 100%. I know we have jobs to fill. I'm not against immigration. I'm not against asylum seekers. I think there needs to be accountability on it. I think we need to fix the housing and other issues that come along with it. But that's not a Trump problem. That's not a Biden problem. That is a Congress problem.
Yep.
That is a Washington problem.
Correct. We're in agreement on that, Doc.
Yes, I
100%.
recognize there are jobs that lazy Americans don't want to do,
Correct.
that our neighbors will do, not just to the south of us, but from other countries other than Mexico.
Right. And you
That
know
will
what
be
else?
cheaper than lazy Americans
Yep.
will.
Right. And you know what else, Doc? There's also companies that would be willing to hire
Go ahead.
undocumented humans and pay them a lower wage off the books, so to speak. That's criminal. We should also be cracking down on that too. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree.
So
agree.
we're on the
agree
same
100%.
page here. So then,
They should be paid a fair wage.
agreed. And it should be. I mean, don't
And
forget.
that's why I said,
Go ahead.
well, hold on. Let me state this real quick since
Sure.
you said they made that point. That's why I said accountability. Keep account on everybody that comes in so we know where they're going to be working so we can make sure they're getting paid a fair wage. When I say fair wage, I mean getting paid what they deserve to be paid, not 10 cents on the dollar like American business owners want to pay illegal
Humans.
what they
No.
call illegal immigrants,
Human beings. We don't want to call them
illegal aliens,
aliens.
whatever you want to label
No,
them
we'll
as.
call them human beings. Undocumented. They're human.
Well, the word you used a while ago.
Undocumented. Undocumented migrants.
Document. You got to use that.
Yeah.
But regardless, pay them what they're worth. I worked at Southwest Shipyard, and we had them come over. We was bringing people over and helping them get their work visas, and they were getting paid, and they were working harder than the American counterparts over here. But they were getting their work visas through us.
Well, again, Doc, these are the conversations that I think, because I have a feeling we may not necessarily align politically, but I think we found some common ground that we all now agree that we've unpacked the law. We all should be critical of an immigration law. We should all be critical of any law that's on the books for 70 years and it's such a hot button issue because Congress has not acted. President does not have the power under the law. The Constitution doesn't allow it. Can we agree on that, Doc?
I agree with that. I said that whenever Trump tried to close the border.
Right.
When Biden tried to open it back up, he didn't have the power to open it up.
Well, it's
After Texas closed it, and after other states closed it,
actually
he didn't have
that's
the right
not
to
true.
make
That's not
the
entirely
other
true,
states
though. Well, let's
reopen
be
it.
careful about that, though, because again, it's an international border, Doc. It's not a state border. The governor of Texas or Arizona or border states doesn't have that authority because it's an international border. So the governors can't do that.
Well, now wait a minute. There is two parts of the border. There's the Mexican border, and then there's the Mexico side, and then there's the Texas side. He
No,
closed
there's a
the
Mexico
Texas
side and the United States side, Doc. It's an international border. It's not. It's not. It's
That's
not.
what I
The
said.
governors don't
He
control
closed
the border.
he closed the United. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My bad. He closed the United States side.
He
He
can't.
did on the Texas border.
He can't though.
He didn't close the Mexico side. The
He
Mexico
he
border.
can't though. So Doc, like once again, a governor cannot. It's a. Would you agree that the U.S. Mexico border is an international border? Would you agree with that statement?
100%.
Okay, so then a governor of a border state
I didn't say
cannot
he was
close.
right. I just said he did.
Right, but he didn't do it. So that's the point. They tried to put razor wire up and all that stuff, which again is being
Well, no, he,
litigated in the courts. But it's specifically the governors have no control. Okay, so we appreciate this conversation,
well,
Doc.
he
Hopefully,
did. He just was overruled.
exactly. So therefore, you can't do it. That's the point, right?
Right.
So
I'm not. No. I mean, it's like you can't rob a store. He might have. They might have done it, but you can't. You're not supposed to. No, he wasn't supposed to. He did it, but he was overruled, and it was opened back up.
correct,
He did it even though he wasn't supposed to.
correct.
I'm not disagreeing with you on asylum seekers. Yes,
Good.
they can file for asylum.
Right.
It's just neither Trump nor Biden put it into the old law into effect.
That's
It
correct.
just needs to be rewritten to cover housing and try to make not housing, but bases need to be covered so that all of this confusion is knocked down.
I think it's more rhetoric than confusion, to be honest, Doc. I think it's
That was my main
conversation.
point.
Yeah, I think it's conversations like this that's how we move this discussion forward, because we try to, again, we try to speak specifically to the facts and to the law. We bring up guests that are very well informed, including immigration attorneys. Anthony and I are very, very well read on this topic. We're only going to cite the law. So once again, Doc, I appreciate you joining. This has been a productive conversation, and you're welcome to come back at any time.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Doc.
All right, but y'all have a good night.
You too.
Y'all have a good one.
You
Appreciate
too,
it.
brother. Thank you. All right.
I need to bring something up real quick.
Sure.
So my better half, who listens in and is in the comments, just hit me up on something. So I'm going to make a statement here to help people out. People continue to conflate, and they come up with all these crazy scenarios. The only way you can seek asylum is to have a foot on U.S. soil. Then you must turn yourself in to Border Patrol. You may turn yourself into law enforcement. They're just going to call Border Patrol. If you are found committing a crime while crossing the border, you cannot seek asylum because now you have committed a crime in the United States. And part of the requirement in the fear check, right, is why are you seeking asylum? Meanwhile, you're in bracelets because they just found a whole bunch of whatever on you. You don't then get to claim
Little different.
asylum.
Yeah, exactly.
So I get that people want to keep making up these what if scenarios, but if you commit a crime on the soil of the United States, you've committed a crime. Crossing the border is not a crime. It's akin to a misdemeanor, and nothing ever happens.
Correct.
Again, the law states you must be in the United States. So, yes, if you cross the border in the United States, it's akin to jaywalking. No one's going to do anything, but immediately Border Patrol has to go through this entire process. We have spoken to Border Patrol agents. I've spoken to Border Patrol agents. Trust me, it's a really exhaustive thing that they have to go through. It takes a very long time, and it's so damn convoluted. I'm surprised they don't walk around with like a piece of paper that's laminated to make sure they have little check boxes to go. They go through all the steps.
Exactly.
But again, if you break the law entering the United States, irrespective of anything, you have broken, and you're welcome, sweetheart. You have broken the law entering the United States, and you then will suffer the word Republicans don't seem to like, specifically MAGA, and that's called consequences.
That's right. By the way,
actions have consequences.
No problem, honey. Oh, but you weren't talking to me.
I was talking to my wife, but thank you. I'll call you honey too, Buttercup.
Gotcha. So I want to just take a brief pause. TikTok
Sure.
is our intention during these live broadcasts to only provide fact-based information. To the absolute best of our ability, we strive to never spread misinformation or to platform those that do. Opinions of our guests or commenters are theirs and theirs alone and do not reflect those of the hosts. Hate speech is not allowed. We are diligent about policing it. This platform is for educational purposes only. Thank you very much. All right.
Okay, now somebody, hold on, let me find this. T. Patrick Gregory. You have enough followers. I want you in the box. T. Patrick Gregory. Get into the box. Send up a request, and I'm going to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, I'd be happy to bring you up, T.
Let's
Patrick.
go.
Make that request. We'll give you.
Come on.
We'll give you a minute here.
This is going to be a really good conversation because what that person I don't know who it is. What that person typed had a really good little buzzy buzz phrase in there. So I want them to. I'm not going to yell at you or attack you or bite you. First of all, I can't bite through my phone. But come on up because that was a really interesting comment, and I want to walk through it. So this is not a gotcha. That was a very interesting comment.
You can request and sit in the box for just a second. We'll bring up Chip. We can have a conversation. And T. Patrick, we're still on. You can for you. Good evening, Chip. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good, thank you. How are you?
Doing fine, thank you. What is on your mind this evening, sir?
I was wondering, do you think Biden is going to bring this topic up at all tonight?
Sure.
You think he will?
I do,
Yeah.
because I don't forget
Okay.
he was prepared to sign border policy into law when the Republicans in the House refused to vote on it. So I would certainly think he's going to say we're trying to close the border, and the Republicans in America today don't care.
And my other point was, I haven't really heard it too much, but according to my information, this weekend is when we're going to be forwarding our clocks. It's going to be that lovely weekend where we lose an hour.
Spring ahead. That's correct. I love it. In the northern part of America, we love that day. It's an awesome day. More sunlight.
And my last thing is regarding your guest down there, Anthony.
Co-host.
He seems to be a pretty well-spoken gentleman, but I just don't care for the F-bomb that he used a couple of times tonight. I think it's totally unnecessary to be that descriptive.
I really don't fucking care, Chip.
Pardon me?
I really don't fucking care.
Yeah, I appreciate
Wow.
that, but I'm
Sorry.
a sailor, Chip, and I speak like one, and I
Tone
speak
police.
the truth.
Good
So
night.
I'm sorry that my language offends you, but I don't fucking care. Yeah, Jesus fucking Christ!
I just felt like it was my mom sitting
you
on my
want to call
shoulder.
me a gentleman and then talk about F-bombs? Wow. And by the way, my mom, who married a sailor and gave birth to 2 sailors, was just as fucking salty when Marilyn was around. So, you know.
Good evening, Chuck. How are you?
Wait, why can't I hear you?
We can hear you.
Is it broken? Anthony,
No, we can hear you.
try talking. I can't hear the host.
We can hear you.
Damn.
Hey, can you hear me?
I think it's a connection issue.
I got you.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Hi,
can't
Chuck.
hear you.
You can't hear
It's
us?
just muted for me. That's
Hi,
crazy.
Chuck.
I just wanted to talk about the white genocide
So
that
okay, yeah.
Joe Biden is facilitating in
Right.
America.
Sure, that's right. Good night. That's
Ooh,
a little game
wow,
that they
that
like
was
to play to
fast.
say I can't hear you, and that's part of the game. That's another little debate
Yeah.
bro tactic that you guys really suck at.
TikTok, this is
Do
for
better.
educational purposes only.
Thank you.
TikTok.
Thank you. Purple Kitty, how are you tonight? Hello? Purple Kitty?
I think they got a phone call or went away from the app because it's got that weird coffee cup thing.
It does indeed. Purple Kitty.
I really need to learn what the hell that is.
Yeah, it's like a coffee break. That's what I think it is. That's just my guess. Purple Kitty, are you there?
Little known fact about your co-host: he doesn't drink coffee.
What? My blood is
I know. My wife thinks
40%
I'm
coffee.
insane.
Purple Kitty, I don't know what's going on there, but sorry. You may have logged out of the chat. Okay. Stu.
Yes, it is true. Yours truly does not like coffee.
Good evening, Stu. How are you
Good
tonight?
evening, guys. How are we?
We're doing fine, thank you. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. It is Friday, 11:30 a.m. here, so still nice. We're about 103 degrees outside though, so I thought I'd just come in and have a chat for 2 minutes.
Okay.
I just want to say I'm starting to think that there is some hope with you guys now in the US after seeing all the primaries. It's fantastic to see. Whilst I do not like Nikki Haley whatsoever, it was great to see Donald Trump do so poorly. For an incumbent to only hit between your 60s to 65 is disastrous, no matter what they say. To have Biden absolutely smash it in everything he's gone in, even when he hasn't even written his name down, has been good. The undecided were more of the Palestinian trying to create their own sort of name for getting their sort of cause out there, but they're very minute in the numbers that they were managing to achieve.
Yeah, uncommitted as opposed to undecided, but I know what you mean.
The uncommitted, absolutely. The fact that we're looking at between 50 to 75% of Haley supporters not going to support Trump is a massive win. And based on those numbers, I'm hopefully you guys are going to end up with a super majority. Everyone who Trump's endorsed has lost. Everyone Trump is running on the Roe versus Wade cause, which even in the red states have voted dead against that being in place. His decision not to fix the borders because he wants to run on it, his policy is disastrous for him. And I hope that the people see the racist, treacherous guy he is. And we even had that ex-prime minister talk about it. I'm not sure if you saw it at all.
I did.
He basically said Trump is a sycophant towards Putin. It is creepy, and all the world leaders know it. So everyone who says, why do I care so much? And I have been following politics for 4 years now. Trump changes the world. He does not just affect the US at this stage based on his desire to let Putin do whatever he wants.
Correct, Stu. I agree with just about everything you said, with the exception of the supermajority. We're still very divided as a country. The electoral map certainly favors Democrats in the House. It's going to be tough in the Senate, but Kyrsten Sinema dropping out in Arizona pretty much locks up that seat, I think, for Gallego, because Carrie Lake is off her nut, as they say.
Yes.
So that was I was, to be honest, I was a little bit nervous about that. I'll be keeping my eye on Montana. John Tester's in a state. He's a hardcore blue Democrat in a red state, and then Sherrod Brown in Ohio. Those are states that are probably going to be difficult to kind of win, but they've both won, and they've got a good track record there, and they seem to be down home guys. So we'll see. But the House, I feel pretty strong about the House.
I'll say one thing. Well, the House has to change because it's been ineffective for 3.5 years, and you cannot have a government which one portion does absolutely zero, except focuses on a laptop for 3.5 years and focuses on the ramblings of a Russian spy, of which he took an FBI document that was proven to be unverified and ran with it.
Yeah, 2 years, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
And to do that to the American people is absolutely horrible. I would love for you guys to fix your gerrymandering, and I would love for you guys to fix your Supreme Court and actually either put term limits on it or have it where it isn't a political thing. Because on the world stage, that's just disastrous to see.
Agreed.
But I say keep fighting the fight, my friends. We need people like you out there. I do not debate the crayon eaters anymore. I'm sick of spending half an hour proving my point, and I'm sick of spending half an hour disproving their point. It is an absolute waste of time. Those independents or undecided need to vote, and if they do not vote, that in essence is a vote for Trump. So pick the lesser of two evils. If you don't like Biden, at least you have someone who can still run a charity in New York, is not guilty of SA, and will not sell your country for an extra $5.
Well said, Stu.
Okay.
Thank you, brother.
Appreciate you letting me in, my friends.
You got it. Appreciate you. Have a good night.
Enjoy. Okay, bye.
Thank you, Stu.
See you, mate.
Really quick, those people in the comments that were telling Stu to mind his own business, I know that you live in 1954 and that you're probably afraid to walk outside of your house. I know that you probably don't have a passport, but here's kind of the deal. Our political environment impacts the world greatly. And so we need people from around the world to get here in the box and to speak and to share their perspective. By sharing other people's perspectives, you get to critically think. When you get to critically think, you get to grow and you get to learn more. This is an environment in which learning and critical thinking is encouraged. So I get it. You know, you heard his accent and you wanted to tell him to go piss off, but this is not the live for that. We want different voices being present, and it's equally as important every now and again to have a guest from another country come and share what they see, what they understand our political issues to be, and also to tell us what the world thinks of us, specifically what the world thinks of Trump. It's super important. And I'm very thankful for people like Stu. Plus, dude was super cool to listen to. He just
Right.
had that Aussie accent that I'm just
Aussie.
it takes me back. I'm sorry. Right. It just reminds me of when I was in the Navy and got to hang out with the Australian Navy. Subtle hint here. If you ever do hang out with the Australian Navy, piece of advice, do not try to keep up with them whilst drinking beer. That is all I have to say. That has been a public service announcement of a former United States sailor who suffered greatly whilst trying to keep up with his mates in the Australian Navy.
8 o'clock Eastern time in 1 hour, just for you, Stu, in case you don't know. But the State of the Union is at 9 o'clock. I think the cover starts now. I won't be offended if you guys decide you want to flip. I do think it's an important speech. I know Kate Cox, who is the woman who went through that horrible situation regarding reproductive health care in Texas, who's been a hardcore Republican most of her life, pro-lifer. She's been invited by the president. She's attending this evening. There's talk about a policy shift in support of humanitarian aid to Palestine, specifically where the U.S., again, we don't know, this is the assumption, that the U.S. will set up a base there, basically, and allow for humanitarian aid to come in. So progress. So, so we're moving through, and we'll continue to bring folks up. Box is open. Try to bring as many folks as we can over the next hour. Thank you all. Continue to like and share. Zeller. Okay. Changed your mind. All right.
Keep tapping that screen.
Keep tapping. Things and such. How are you this evening?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing fine, thank you. What is on your mind tonight?
Oh, not too much. So one, the argument we hear a lot is on the fact that people come over to seek asylum, and they come over in any spot they want to. And the argument that we hear a lot is that there should be a very specific ports of entry that they are forced to go to. And that's a very problematic idea. When you think about it in the context of, let's say that you are bordering a genocidal authoritarian government nation, and people are trying to flee that country to come here to seek asylum, to get away from the atrocities of that government. And we have these very specific ports of entries that they have to be forced to go to. Then that government only needs to just set up barricades and unalive anybody who attempts to cross into that port of entry, completely nullifying the ability for people to come here and seek asylum. That's why they can come through any means possible, because we assume that, if they have to come through a specific pre-designated spot, that if they're, fleeing a government that's trying to hurt them, then that government's going to use that knowledge against those people. So, whether or not that's, a fact, as far as like you guys want to state it or not, I don't know, but that's the reason why we don't force people to go through very specific ports of entry to seek asylum. And
I don't think that's the only reason. I think logistically, it's impossible for one. I don't think that's the only reason. Part of that, at least my opinion, is that because we have an asylum law that requires only someone to step foot on U.S. soil, doesn't matter where they cross.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's the only reason why, but it definitely has, there's multi, faceted, reasons as to why we don't force that, specific thing. So, it's interesting that people always want to use that as a point when it's, it just doesn't make any sense. Like
Yeah, I
you,
mean,
like
the
just
conversation we were having earlier, it's frustrating when we're literally reading the law and then we're told that we're not reading the law or that we're leaving things out. And I think that's Anthony and I've had many conversations about this. That's the confirmation bias that people will seek out because it doesn't support the narrative that they have in their head. So they're told all these things. They're told that, you have to claim asylum in Mexico. How would that work? How can you claim asylum in the United States in Mexico? That's what they're told. And I get it when somebody believes something, and when the information that you're receiving is just banged into your head all day every day, of course you're going to believe it. So when you're confronted with two Gen X guys on TikTok and you're like, well, actually this is what the law says, they're going to say that we're dumb and we're ignorant and we don't know anything, and then we're going to get flagged for misinformation, and then the whole world blows up. TikTok world, at least that is.
yeah,
That's the danger.
it's interesting when you had a lawyer on and people are still saying he's wrong. No,
I know.
he's wrong. He's not correct.
I know.
It's
Yeah. Welcome to TikTok debates.
quite amazing. Yeah, I know. It's so hard. I try to stay out of the comment sections. Usually I just swipe the comment sections to the right because I'm just like, I can't be in the comment sections. I just gotta just listen to the live, and even those are interesting sometimes. But so one thing that I did want to ask was, since
Sure.
you guys seem to be, well versed on the specific laws, another thing that I hear people say a lot is that they can't cross multiple borders to then seek asylum. Like if they cross one border, they have to stay. Like, what's that? And is there any truth to?
Like multiple countries?
Yeah, I think what they're saying is that if they cross more than one border to get here, like if they cross a border and then come here and cross our border, that somehow nullifies their ability to seek asylum. Something about
Oh,
No, because again, people from Guatemala, Venezuela, numerous countries go through the Mexican desert, for example, to seek asylum. So
yeah, that's I mean, it doesn't ring true to me, but I didn't know if there was anything. Often, they like to take little bits and pieces of how the law is written or stated and then twist it into some morbid, idea of their own, and then say, well, see, here you go. And so I didn't know if there was something that where they were getting this from, or if it's just, fairy tale.
go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead, Anthony.
so where people get confused is there are just three really super high level general buckets. There are migrant workers, there are asylum seekers, and then there are refugees. Refugees have to go to another country to claim refugee status, right? And they can apply for refugee status. It doesn't mean that they get to come to the United States. There's a whole refugee thing that is completely separate from migrant workers and completely separate from asylum seekers. If you think asylum seeking is confusing, try looking into the refugee status and the way the international law works there. Rollo has come up and talked about it. It's super interesting. So what happens is people conflate what they read because a lot of them don't have the critical thinking skills to be able to separate these things. So they just collapse everything into one, or they hear it on their favorite talk radio, or they hear it on Fox News as a scare tactic. So there is an awful lot of conflating of things going on. And look, I get it. Like, trying to read this stuff is super fucking complicated and it hurts my head sometimes. That's why we bring Rollo up. So Rollo can just simply answer a question and then we go, oh, okay. Because sometimes it's not worth the mental energy trying to figure things out on your own when you have people who are immigration attorneys that can come up and in literally 2 minutes explain it to you like you're a 2-year-old, and then you're able to understand. So I default to people like Rollo and immigration attorneys, but I think you bring up a great point. And that's part of the critical thinking skills, and why education is so important, why educators are so important, and why public libraries and these things called books are so important.
Anything else? Things and such.
Just where's the best place to read on the immigration laws?
I think you should start with U.S. Code 1158 under asylum. 8 U.S. Code 1158. Start there. If you'd like, in my bio, there's a link tree in my bio, and it's in there. Make it easy for you to find it.
Perfect. Yes. No, I pulled it right up. Yes, that's often you hear, conservatives quoting, asylum law, but rarely do you ever get that actual specific code. And so I've tried looking it up a few times, just, like you guys said, and you find a dozen different, this site and that site. And if you're looking, then, we'll help you, but no actual code. And so perfect. Thank you. You guys directed me straight to the code. No, that's it, guys. Keep up the good work. I'll keep listening, and you can bring somebody else up. Have a good night,
brother. Have a good night. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Somebody had a really interesting rude comment for me, and I'm trying to find that person again. Something about how I talk like someone that abuses their spouse. So yeah, I would love it when my wife comes home for her to dog walk your punk ass from one end of LA County to another. But I'll find you in here, and I will unpack you. So you better hope that you have left, because now it's on like Donkey Kong.
I don't want to mispronounce your name. Is it?
That's called slander, by the way.
Learcio?
Lear's good.
Hi, Lear. How are you tonight?
Little stressed and tired.
What can we do to help?
So, hopefully no more than 3 minutes. I know you're on the clock. One, could you please explain to everybody that anyone who comes to the United States as an immigrant, asylum seeker, or anything of the such does not have the God-given right to vote. They cannot vote under any circumstances. They barely qualify for jury duty.
I think you said it.
If I say it, they don't
perfectly
listen.
said.
So.
Oh,
yeah.
I see. Sorry, I totally missed what you were asking. That is absolutely correct.
Yep.
People here without legal status cannot vote, and to get legal status to vote, you have to do what people like Rollo did, and that's you have to go through the immigration naturalization process. You have to raise your hand like those of us who are veterans and swear an oath to the U.S. Constitution. Before you do that, you can't vote.
You also have to surrender your citizenship depending on the nation which you are from. For example, if you're Mexican,
another added complication.
Correct. And to pass a citizenship test in here, which we always remind people that most immigrants probably know more about our Constitution than people who live here. The people who complain the most about, they're all about the Constitution and yet don't know much more than the first two amendments. But you're right.
Yeah. Then there's also one that I was arguing in the comments for a good minute. For those who come on asylum, for those who qualify through certain branches of the immigration process, yes, they do get a $12,000 to $15,000 allowance, one-time allowance to start their new life within the United States. This only benefits those who are from certain countries. For example, if you come from North Korea, the Middle East, parts of Africa, you will qualify for those allowances. But that money, no, $12,000, $15,000. It's a one-time deal. And this is for you to get your house, get your car, get your food and everything. One time. No, Tony, one time. That's it. And it only qualifies for certain countries. Mexico, most Latin America does not qualify.
I've not heard that specifically. That's a bit of a wrinkle that I've not heard. I know that there were funds available, but I don't know if I can't confirm or deny that. I don't know enough about that specifically. Have you been through that process yourself?
I've assisted with various interviews. God knows they are fun. And have you ever had to translate for a Chinese man who speaks Spanish, but he speaks it in the most broken Google Translate way?
No.
Oh
Thankfully.
God, he wasn't even speaking Spanish, he was speaking
No.
Nahuatl.
Wow.
But he received it because he was apparently from the northern province of China, where the ones who are being unfortunately treated horribly.
Hmm.
He's Muslim Chinese.
Hmm.
And that's the only reason why he qualified for a $8,000 one-time allowance to help him settle in the United States, which he had to forego his Chinese citizenship,
Yep.
and he can never leave the United States to go to China again. Part of his process.
I've not heard that before, but that's interesting. It's called I forget what that like.
So I can
that's
help
the
you out with
Eiger,
that,
right?
Fax.
Isn't that the Eiger? Isn't that what you're talking about, or the Uyghur? I forget how it's pronounced. Or I think it's the Eiger region of China. Those poor folks have been under the thumb of the Chinese government for a long time. I'm sorry, Anthony. Go ahead.
Yeah, so under the U.S. Department of State website, there is a section for funding opportunities, and it breaks down the rules. What kinds of initiatives and programs does the U.S. government fund through the Bureau of Population, Refugees, and Migration? So a lot of this is done via NGOs, but there is a very specific set of rules and guidelines, and it walks through how you can apply, and it has all of the different templates. So it is indeed true that certain persons under certain refugee statuses from certain countries do get a financial award to help them out, but they have to have, and I don't have enough time to read it because this thing is super duper long. But there is a application process, and that's done via the State Department. So I'm assuming that those funds come out of their discretionary budget
Yeah.
on some level.
Anthony, Fax, if you want to get an idea of how delicate that paperwork is, it's worse than our VA paperwork.
Ooh.
Even worse than that.
Oof.
It's worse than trying to get your enlistment bonus. And multiply that by 50. And you forgot one thing on your outtake paperwork. That's how bad it is.
Well, you're the kind of person, obviously, that's you're doing the work.
I remember those.
Because that's what's required. When we have such a complicated.
It was a while ago.
We have such a complicated system, and we have so many people that are dependent on the kindness of others, and people who are knowledgeable, and people who are willing to do the work. So, thank you for what you do, and I think it goes.
Thank you.
There's so many heroes out there. I mean, I don't use that term. I don't want to throw that around because it triggers many people. But for people like you who just do what you do and try to help people and navigate a complicated process, I appreciate that, bro. Really do.
Yeah. Thanks, bud. Thanks, Fax. Thanks
Got
for
it.
having me up.
You got it.
And one last thing.
Sure.
The border is not open in the way that it is described.
Right.
It is still, you go in through the bridges. It is not, oh, come on in, folks. Sit on down. The show now begins. It is not like that. It is still a wall. Unfortunately, there is one agent per 150 kilometers. And those numbers, I believe, are growing because they're retiring quicker and quicker than they can be replaced. The $14 billion bill that was presented, that the Republicans shot down for the border security, a single-use bill. It is not, no strings. There was nothing, just border security for your ICE training, for your ICE equipment. A lot of officers are running with 20-year-old computers. I wouldn't be surprised if there's somebody there with a Rolodex driving around. That's money was to help them get caught up.
Well said. Well said. Again, pushing back on misinformation. Appreciate you very much.
Buenas noches. Y'all be
You as
safe.
well. Thank you very much.
Don't forget to hydrate.
Yeah.
Well said.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you. Just got to follow
Indeed.
there. Appreciate you very much. I love those conversations. You know, it's just like
that is going to be the quote of the evening. Dudes running around with a Rolodex.
exactly right. You know, I don't think we.
Did you imagine? Oh, wait, turning it to get to the right letter to figure out what the law says.
I don't think it go. I mean, we don't talk about the unsung enough, right? The people who do that kind of work. You know, the people who
100%.
volunteer. I mean,
Yep.
immigration attorneys. You know, people like Rollo and others, and sure they get paid, but not all the time. But that's not the point. You know, you identify a
Right.
passion in your life, whatever it is, and you decide that these are the people that I'm going to help, and these are the reasons I'm going to do it. That's a big deal, and I think it goes unsung. I think we need to do a better job of identifying those people. So thank you for everybody who does that work, whatever it might be. Whether you volunteer in your
Yep.
communities, whether you work for food drives, you know, I help. I've built Habitat Humanity houses in my life. I volunteer all the time, and it's good for your soul. I would encourage everybody to do it. And again, political affiliations aside, it's got nothing to do with your politics. Nothing to do with your politics. It should just be your willingness to help your community. And we've spoken to many people on the right, quite frankly, that we know do that. And I think that's something that we can find common ground on. Banging nails doesn't matter your political affiliation. Handing out hamburgers doesn't matter who you vote for. It's about, you know, giving back to your community because it fills you up, fills your tank, makes you feel better. All right.
Yep. Indeed.
Hello.
Good evening, gentlemen.
How are you there, friend?
I'm okay. I felt an urge to come up here this weekend. I watched a movie called Zones of Interest. I don't know if you all are familiar with it.
Zones of interest?
Yes.
Okay. No.
It's nominated for an Academy Award. It's actually in German, and it tells about the man and his family that ran Auschwitz. He was an awful human being.
Oof.
It is a very intense film. And while watching it, I was watching it with a friend of mine, and my friend looks at me and says, they don't even think they're human. And he said, I can't imagine that ever happening again. And I said, you know what? Looking at these comments and the way that people are dehumanizing immigrants that are coming over here, and they wonder why we worry about the rise of fascism. Because the way that people are calling people illegals, which is so dehumanizing in these comments, is disgusting. People are people, regardless of how they get here, regardless of who they are. They are human beings. And the way that people in these comments are referring to them is disgusting. And it's been happening, and it's happening all night. And I just want you all to think, if you were on that end, seeking asylum in another country, fleeing whatever you're fleeing from your own country, imagine being treated like that when you are received in a new country. Just imagine.
You all should know where I stand on this particular issue, and you're right, Francis. One of the major tenets of fascism is scapegoating, looking for someone else to blame, whatever that is, and it's usually an identifier, usually a particular ethnic group or racial group or sexual orientation. It doesn't really matter. It's all the same level of hate. It's all the same level of division. And you're right. And it doesn't necessarily matter, what you say or what I say or what Anthony says. There needs to be some empathy. And my concern is that because of the power of the right-wing echo chambers and right-wing media intentionally dividing based on this level of rhetoric, it doesn't give anyone a chance for any kind of understanding, because you can't gain empathy without understanding, and vice versa. So you're never willing to look at someone's plight, someone's situation, because you see them in their brown skin or whatever it might be, or their black skin or their rainbow flag, and you immediately assume that they're the enemy. just because of you're told that they are.
Correct.
There's
I would
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would like to address someone in the comments. Richard,
Please.
if what happened to Lake and Riley was awful. But that is one anecdotal situation. And regardless of who committed that atrocity, it was awful, right? But we know, based on facts and information, that people that come here seeking asylum, immigrants that come here, are not the ones that commit the majority of the violent crime in this country, or the crime at all in this country. It is the people that live here, the people that are citizens here. So while that happened to that poor child, and I feel for that parent, that's one anecdotal situation.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say. Anthony, anything from you?
I mean, I'm going to say this 10 toes down. All 245 pounds of me is going to say this. If I see you using the unaliving of an innocent person as a way to make a political point or to start a narrative, I'm literally going to block you so fast that you won't even realize you're blocked. We don't do that here. Do not use the unfortunate unaliving of another human being to score political points. This is not the place for that, especially when it's a child. It is inexcusable and it will not be allowed. And that's the last time I'm going to warn people. You come at this live and you do that, you're instantly going to be blocked. I just blocked 6 people in a row. I'm feeling very spicy this evening, and I'm going to continue to block people. We are not going to get shut down again because of you.
Francis, I know that these hit you hard, and I want to give a special shout out to my mods, because we communicate because it's necessary. We share information, we talk offline, but they're amazing people, and they all have stories to tell. They all come from different backgrounds, and I'm lucky that they decided that they wanted to support the work that Anthony and I do here, and I couldn't do it without them. But it's not fun. It's not fun. It's not something that they enjoy doing when they have to navigate through the level of hate that we get. And for some of you, I know some of you who make these comments and then you laugh that you get kicked, and then you go to somebody else's lives and do the same thing. I don't know what to say to you other than, check yourself. Especially those of you who identify as Christian. I don't think that that's acting very Christian, quite frankly. But again, to my mods for dealing with a lot of bullshit. Anthony and I talk to people one at a time. Our job's easy. You could do that. You do the heavy lifting, and we couldn't do it without you. So thank you very much, Francis, and Nikki, and Bunny, and all those involved, Jason, and everybody. Thank you all. If I miss some of you by name, I apologize.
Thank you for letting me get up and speak my mind. It's been watching the comments, just seeing all of the hate in the comments. And I would encourage those who claim to be Christian to really think about how you're treating your fellow human being and what Jesus said about that. And that's all I got to say.
Appreciate you, friend. Hang in there, okay?
Thank you.
All right, see you later.
Bye.
Thank you, Francis.
Hey, Clue.
How you guys doing?
And Cookie. I forgot Cookie by name. My apologies, Cookie. And Upstate Reeb and others. Again, I'll never remember anybody.
Not talking to you.
Go ahead, Clue. What's
Sorry.
up, brother? Okay.
Not much, man. My son thought I was talking to him. Yeah, I was appreciative of your last guest on there making that point about these miserable SOBs talking down about immigrants when they're hypocrites because their own ancestors were immigrants. You know, I continue to ask people anytime they bring up immigration, I say, where did your immigrant ancestors invade from? You know, I always want to use the word invade now because they're all so quick to talk about this invasion that's going on. We're not being invaded. Guess what? Immigration is the most American thing ever. If it wasn't for immigration, we wouldn't have a country. Okay, the Chinese came here to work on our railroad. We brought black people here to pick cotton so our textile industry could lead the world. You know, everybody that got here, if you weren't native or indigenous, you are an immigrant or descendant.
You keep cutting out, Clue.
Of that, and get awesome because they're going to work jobs that you won't work, Richard or Fitchard or Titchard or whatever your name is. And they're going to contribute to our society more than the average Retrumplafuck will. I can tell you that. I'd much rather have an immigrant from any place on the planet move in next to me than a Retrumplafuck. I just don't want to.
Yeah,
I don't want to have it.
Yeah, I would agree. I would look at, I would look at the slave trade a lot differently, perhaps, than how you stated it, Clue. But I would certainly agree that we are a nation of immigrants. But we America has a lot of blood on its hands. Also, we have to acknowledge that. But I think at the core of what you're talking about, that we would not be. That's why anybody. Who
definitely, I wasn't suggesting that. What I'm saying is that the rich assholes.
Hey, Clue. I'm gonna drop you down, brother, just because you keep cutting out and it's hard to understand the conversation. Hey, Clue. Yeah. So I dropped you down, brother, because you just kept cutting in and out. It was really hard to kind of understand. You're more than welcome to request again. I can bring you back up. Okay, Dark Dem.
Hey, Fax, buddy. How's it going?
Dark Dem, how are you this evening?
I do pretty good. So over the week, I decided to write some things down for these people that like to talk smack about immigrants here and stuff. And I don't know if you're a religious person or not and stuff. It doesn't bother me if you're not here. So I'm like, for all the people that like to talk about Jesus here and practice what they preach here, I got a few verses for you. So one of the verses says, when a foreigner resides among you in your land, do not mistreat them. The foreigner residing among you must be treated as your native born. Love them as yourself, for you were foreigners in Egypt. That comes directly from Leviticus chapter 19, verses 33 to 34. The other one that I got for you, Trump supporters, says, when you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap to the very edges of your field or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Do not go over your vineyard a second time or pick up the grapes that have fallen. Leave them for the poor and the foreigner. That also comes from Leviticus chapter 19, verses 9 through 10. The other one that I wrote down here is, he defends the cause of the fatherless and the widow and loves the foreigner residing among you, giving them food and clothing. And you are to love those who are foreigners, for you yourself were foreigners in Egypt. That comes from Deuteronomy chapter 10, 18 through 19. The other one that I got was, do not oppress a foreigner. You yourselves know how it feels to be foreigners because you were foreigners in Egypt. That comes from Exodus chapter 23, verse 9. And the last one that I got two more. Here, this one says, so I will come to put you on trial. I will be quick to testify against sorcerers, adulterers, perjurers, against those who defraud laborers of their wages, who oppress the widows and the fatherless, and deprive the foreigners among you of justice. But do not fear me, says the Lord Almighty. That comes from Malachi chapter 3, verse 5. And the last one here says, as for the foreigner who does not belong to your people Israel, but has come from a distant land because of your name, for they will hear of your great name and your mighty hand and your outstretched arm when they come and pray towards this temple, then hear from heaven, your dwelling place, do whatever the foreign Do whatever the foreigner asks of you, so that all of the people of the earth may know your name and fear you, as you do owing people in Israel, and may know that this house I have built bears your name. I'm like, all you Trump supporters here need to practice what you preach, because even the Bible says we should welcome immigrants into this country and in every other parts of this world here and stuff. For all these Trump supporters that tell us all you can't believe in God and be a Democrat, because that's wrong. I know tons of Democrats that are preachers, that are churchgoers, and stuff that practice what they preach. They go out there every day and help feed the homeless. They go out there every day and help take care of the veterans. They go out there every day and help fight for social justice for the black and brown community here. I'm like, Donald Trump is far from what Jesus talks about here. He's what God talks about in the Bible here, that you will follow a false prophet. He's talking about Donald Trump here. Donald Trump is the false prophet.
Well said, my friend. Well said very much. I appreciate that. And that's the hypocrisy that we talk about all the time. And I appreciate you breaking it down that way, brother. Thank you very much.
Exactly. And I'm like, I understand there's people that watch your live here, and I don't force my religion down people's throats here and stuff. That's the wonderful thing about religion here. I'm like, you could choose to follow it or not. I'm like, but I'm not like the far right here, where I'm going to force you to believe in something that you don't want to believe in, because I do believe in the separation of state and church here. I'm like, I should not be able to use my religion and force the whole country to follow my religion, because this is not a Christian nation. It's a nation where I got to go. I got to call it work.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man. Thanks, Dark Dem. Yeah. Okay. We'll try this again. Are you gonna behave yourself this evening and have a decent conversation?
Here he is.
Oh, I am.
Are you? Okay. You promise?
I promise.
Okay. So what's on your mind tonight?
Say that again. I'm sorry.
What's on your mind tonight?
I was just listening to him preach. So Christians, you say you are, and we are. It's okay that Biden's a practicing Catholic and Pelosi's a practicing Catholic, and all of a sudden that abortion is okay, and it's
okay. Not interested. I thought you were going to have a decent conversation. My bad. It's impossible for somebody like you to have that conversation. Texas Patriot, 1974. You're a traitor too.
I don't know where was he going? I was confused.
Don't care. Hey, Mark, how are you tonight?
Good. How you guys doing, man?
Doing fine, thank you. What's on your mind tonight?
All right. Happy Thursday. I just wanted to get a clarification. As far as crossing the border at, a random point, slipping in or whatever, not at a point of entry, you said it's a misdemeanor, right?
Yeah, it's not slipping in. It's part of the U.S. immigration law.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just thinking at a random place other than a point of entry, because you guys have given me a wealth of knowledge, and I appreciate it. I listen quite often, but I like to keep all this in my brain, so I can not challenge people, but at least have the facts. No pun intended. Facts, right?
I got you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
No
cool.
problem.
I've learned a lot. You guys have a great night.
Thanks, Mark. You too.
You bet.
Thanks, Mark. I was not sure where he was going. He had me confused.
Just real quickly, Patricia, if you would mind indulging me.
Sure, I'm gonna make it real quick.
That's okay. I want to do this real quick just so I can get it out of the way, because I think it's important. Hold on, I want to go through our disclaimer, because I just think it's really, really important. So you can just bear with me 1 second so I can read that. TikTok, it is our intention during these live broadcasts to only provide fact-based information to the absolute best of our ability. We strive to never spread misinformation or to platform those that do. Opinions of our guests or commenters are theirs and theirs alone and do not reflect those of the hosts. Hate speech is not allowed, and we are diligent about policing it. This platform is for educational purposes only. Thank you. My apologies, Patricia. What's on your mind tonight?
It's fine. I just want to say good evening, gentlemen. I always pop in to hear what y'all have to say. I learned a lot, as always. I did want to say on the immigration topic, I feel like I'm an immigrant, so I came here when I was 16 years old. I feel like there's somewhat of a stigma when it comes to immigration, and if Americans really understood the process, not only for asylees or refugees or people coming here, if they really understood how long it takes, like I could give a classic example. My grandmother filed for us since in the late 1990s. My mom didn't get approved until 2002 to come here. It takes about 10 years when a family member decides to sponsor you, and there's no guarantee when you go to the embassy for that appointment that that person on the other side of the table is going to say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and grant you entry to come in. You could have all your documents in a row. They find one simple error. You got to start all over again. And I don't think people understand, like, going through that process. My mom, because she lived in different countries, she had to get police reports to show that she didn't have a criminal record. The amount of stuff that I had to do, I had to get a whole bunch of immunization shots before I even got here. And even when I got here for school, it was still massive confusion because my school could not understand my transcript. So I now had to tell them what country to use to transfer. It's really a lot, and I don't think some Americans understand the stress it takes to come here and how costly it is. It costs a lot of money to become a naturalized citizen. And even on that appointment, that can go either way. That immigration officer can say, oh, no, we can't. And you got to start all over again. So I just wish people would have some compassion for people who come here, because I'm not taking away anything from anybody. I'm not. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I'm not taking away anything from anybody. I hate, oh, y'all immigrants are taking away my jobs. I'm not taking away your job. I'm not.
On the contrary, we know how much immigrants can contribute to our society. It's just, again, Patricia, it's part of that narrative that gets spun, right? That we have to fight back against, which is why we're doing it. So it's always good to talk to people like you. First of all, where'd you immigrate from, if you don't mind me asking?
I came from the small island of St. Lucia.
Cool. Awesome.
And I mean, I got appreciation for being here when I worked at Social Security, processing Social Security cards for individuals who came here as an asylee, a refugee. I've seen the paperwork. I've seen it all. And people tend to think, oh, they just get that. No, they don't. I've helped people who forgot they had an appointment at the immigration office. And I'm like, sir, your appointment was yesterday. You forgot? I'm sorry, we can't do anything. We have to have up-to-date paperwork. So it's not that, trust me, it's not that easy to get Social Security card and get all that stuff. They have to have all their documents in a row. If you don't have the documents, come back when you do.
So another example of somebody doing the work to help others. So another example of our gratitude for you for doing that. Obviously, you've been through the process and you're helping people out, those that are going through it as well. And it's not easy, as you just described.
It's not.
So thank you for doing that, Patricia. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You got it.
Thanks, Patricia.
Thank you.
So it's 8:45, and I know that people are want to watch the State of the Union. I know I do as well. I think that's important. So I think what we might do, I apologize, we're probably not going to get to everybody again tonight, but I think we might end early so that people can get whatever they need to do prior to that, make popcorn or whatever it might be. I think Crow and Arrow, he's going to whisper, Crow and Arrow, he's in the chat. He's going to stream it on his channel if you guys want to watch it that way, or if you want a big screen or whatever you want to do. But I want to thank everybody this evening for conversations. I think we like the new format. I think hopefully you guys don't mind that Anthony and I lean in on the disclaimer. I think it's important. Who knows what's going to happen with my main for live access. We will not be live on our channel tomorrow night. We're going to support Chelsea, Political Mom. If you follow her, please do. If you don't, she's going to be hosting a Uvalde dad. Excuse me. Pardon me. Hosting a Uvalde dad who's been, we've seen some images of him. And again, I would ask you that if you are one of those people who chirps in our chat, to not even bother attending that live tomorrow night. It's not for you. It's for people who have empathy. It's for people who have understanding. It's for people who want to see, or who care about families that have been through what he's been through, because we live in America. It could happen to you. So if you're not interested, if you just want to feel like you want to go and just spam the chat, then don't bother. This is not worth it. I will be there. Chelsea's asked us both to participate, so I won't speak for Anthony, but I'll plan on being there. I think this has been productive this evening. Anthony, anything you'd like to say, brother?
No, I'd just like to thank the mods. I'd like to thank those who came up and had decent conversations. I'd like to thank the people in the comments that think I get paid. That's super duper funny. Don't I wish? And I am probably not going to watch the State of the Union address because it's only 5:45 here in LA County, and I think I'm going to go spend some time with my beautiful wife Jen, who is a saint because she puts up with me, and all thanks to her for letting me exercise my nerdness, and all thanks to Fax for having me here. And I think what we're doing is super important. And again, mods, thank you. People don't know what you do, but you're really doing great work, and I am super appreciative of you. We couldn't do it without you, so thank you. And Fax, thank you so much, brother. I really I appreciate you, and I'm glad that we met and that we formed this bond.
Agreed, brother. Thank you very much. So I think to be involved, I've said this before, democracy is not a spectator sport. You need to pay attention. If you're a Biden voter, watch this evening and question the things the president says. If you don't like it, speak up about it. If you're an independent and you're unsure and you're trying to decide between your candidates you're choosing for the president, watch it. Be critical. Ask questions. If you're on the right and all you want to do is throw hate, then you can watch it too. You're American. But ask yourself, do you support a man who has no honor, no integrity, and you're complicit in his racism and bigotry, or do you support someone who wants to protect democracy? So you can call it threat prevention, you can call it whatever you want. I don't care. But there is one clear choice come November, and that is Joseph R. Biden. Thank you, friends. Have a great night. Be safe. Please vote.